Eve edition of the Devil's Advocates radio show. You know, mask mandates kicking in my hometown tomorrow, Dom.
Yeah, you look better with a mask, Curdy. I look forward to it.
Yeah. You look better with a ball gag. Sound better, too. I got to tell you, I'm a little depressed. I'm a little depressed at the prospect of having to put a mask back on tomorrow.
No.
I mean, I understand it might be the right thing for public health and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean I'm not a little depressed.
No, me too, man. I mean, we were certainly coming around the bend, as it were, and of course, lots of breakthroughs, but statistically, probably not as many as it might seem. But I blame all the unvaccinated people. It's your fault, and now Curdy has to wear a mask again.
Damn it! That's all I can say.
But come on, man. I mean, I've been carrying it around and wearing it grocery shopping, going inside and whatnot for a couple of weeks now. So whatever.
I have not been. I got vaccinated because that's what the CDC and the governor and the president, everybody told me. Do your part, Crudy. Go get your vaccination. Go get your shot. I did right away. In fact, I got my 2 shots. And buddy, we've been living this pandemic. We've been operating, doing business, trying to run a radio show, trying to be out there in public where possible in the midst of a pandemic. And I did my part, man. I got to tell you, I'm more than a little frustrated. And it's not that I'm worried about carbon dioxide backup or what Joe Sanfilippo, a backbench Republican from Wisconsin, tell us one day. Oh, you'll get Legionnaire's disease from wearing the mask. And he heads up the health committee. That guy. And I'm not sure that Joe probably got itself vaccinated, which is part of the reason why we've got this problem, not just here in Wisconsin, all across the nation, Dom. And this isn't even what I want to talk about, but it's just got me a little riled.
You and me both, brother, and lots of people. And unfortunately, you still have a lot of crazy ass Trumpsters out there going to their city halls and their county board meetings and raising a ruckus, the anti-maskers, the anti-vaxxers.
You want to hear the rant I anticipated starting the show with?
Well, of course.
You got a little rant. I just wanted to bring it up to you. Republicans are going to win the midterm. They're going to win the House. And I think this is going to be a terrible thing.
That's not a guarantee. Come on, man.
There are no guarantees in life, Dom. They still, play the game every Sunday, right? But between the gerrymandering and the voter suppressive laws and the pendulum swing, usually against the party in power, in this case, that'd be against the Democrats, the mathematical likelihood is that the Republicans are going to win the House of Representatives. That's what the history tells us, Tom. And I think the next step would be to immediately file articles of impeachment against Joe Biden.
Yeah, for what?
I think probably they will file articles of impeachment because of his Afghanistan failures. That's how it'll be cast. When it comes to foreign policy, you got to put a foot down, unless it's trying to influence the Ukrainian president to, whatever, do some stuff for you, and then I might do some stuff for you. A little quid pro quo. That's acceptable. And hard to define for some Republicans. Certainly not impeachment worthy. But this misplayed withdrawal from Afghanistan, well, Dom, it's unforgivable. So they'll impeach the man, or they'll endeavor to do so, and they'll have a House vote. And there will be no conviction in the Senate because, of course, it'll be divided and there won't be enough partisan Republicans to vote to convict. And it won't be merited. So, there won't be any Democrats voting to impeach the guy.
So an impeachment, no matter what. And right now, the excuse would be Afghanistan withdrawal.
I think that's the most.
In another 6 months, it could be something entirely different. You're saying that they're going to impeach regardless of what their justification may be.
I do think that they are going to impeach Joe Biden regardless of their justification. And of course, if the Republican House is in place, well, they're not going to accept the outcome of the presidential election in 2024. Not if they don't get the outcome they were seeking And of course, the outcome they're seeking is going to be what? The re-election of President Donald Trump. Or maybe it's President DeSantis. Or maybe it's President Scotty Wanker. But the Republican House can overturn the will of the American people through the Electoral College count. And effectively, what they will do is they will send it back to state legislatures. And because enough of the state legislatures are controlled by Republicans, effectively, they can change and overturn the outcome of a presidential election through the House of Representatives. And this is all coming to a theater near you soon.
Oh, come on. You know how many things have to fall in line for that to happen?
Yeah, they got to win back the House. That's all it takes. That's really all it would take.
They're not going to impeach Joe Biden unless Joe Biden does something impeachment worthy. The withdrawal that he's following through on right now, that was established by his predecessor, the Republican who released the leader who just went back to Afghanistan, who released the 5,000 prisoners. That action where Trump's own words say he put Biden in a box, you think the Republicans are going to then impeach Joe Biden for that? I don't buy that.
Absolutely. They absolutely will. They absolutely will. Dom, you think
no, I don't.
They impeached Bill Clinton for what? Fellatio?
For lying to a federal judge?
Well, is it really? Really, it was about his morals, Dom. I mean, I know what they told the American people, but the impeachment process was really about what? Villainizing Bill Slick Willie Clinton because he had improper sex with an intern, sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. And then he lied about it because he was quizzed about it. But that was the only justification they needed. You think it's going to be less, or they'll need more justification than the impeachment of Bill Clinton? You think they'll need more than that? You ever seen an impeached president win
listen,
re-election?
Man, honestly, Crudy, if a sitting president in charge of the executive branch lies to the judiciary, a separate and equal co-equal branch of the government, lies in a deposition in a federal court, that's almost an impeachable offense, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I don't mind that. What I do know, Joe Biden isn't going to lie to a federal judge while under oath as president of the United States. So, yes, I think it would have to be something like that or more.
You don't think that theoretically any man, woman, or woman could lie to a federal prosecutor depending on what the questions were about? Maybe about their private sex life. Maybe about their kid, Hunter Biden. You don't think there would be a justification where Joe Biden couldn't rationalize on his own mind why he felt it proper to lie in that circumstance, despite the fact he was under oath? You think he's above reproach? You think Joe Biden, there's no topic upon which he would not lie?
I do not think that Joe Biden would. Yeah, no, I do not. The answer is no. I don't think that would happen. I'm
glad that you
do
have
you think
such
Joe Biden would,
in the integrity of Joe
under
Biden.
Oath, Joe Biden given testimony on any topic, be it personal or national, do you think that he would swear an oath not only to uphold the Constitution as president of the United States, then also swear another oath upon his Bible and his very religious man under God to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help me God. Do you think Joe Biden's would lie in that circumstance?
I think there are some topics that if Joe Biden was put under oath and the topic was not related to his governance, but perhaps to his family, yeah, I think Joe Biden, like most men, there are some circumstance. There is some circumstance under which I could put you in a chair, hand on a Bible, not that you believe.
Sure. And if I did that,
perjure
and
yourself.
if I did, not effectively, that's actually what perjury is. And if I did that and I held a position of power as president of the United States, I would fully expect some ramifications to come forth.
Are we talking about Bill Clinton or the impending future impeachment of Joe Biden? Because it's coming, baby. You don't need a good reason. You just need a majority of the House members. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. I mean, think back to when Trump was first inaugurated. We had Al Green, right? Democratic House member from Texas. He's rolling out the impeachment articles immediately. You don't think the Republicans will return the favor? We've already had impeachment articles drawn up, or at least Marjorie Taylor Greene claims she's working on them back in the back of the office. But Dominic, the fact that Republicans, they absolutely, and don't do that, they will absolutely impeach Joe Biden, or at least they will endeavor to do so. They will not be successful, just like the Democrats were not successful in impeaching Trump in time number 1 or number 2. And I thought both of those were justified.
No, let's be clear here. President Trump was impeached twice in the House. He was not convicted in the Senate.
Sure.
No, I don't think the Republicans would, even if they get a majority in the House, would pass an impeachment of Joe Biden. No, that's the answer. No. For
So
what? For
they're
being
gonna
a Democrat?
Yeah, basically. Do you think they needed more reason or rationale than that to impeach Bill Clinton? Was there much more than that,
I
Tom?
think Bill provided enough
If
reason
there
and
hadn't been
rationale for them to do so.
Oh, come on. If there hadn't been a Linda Tripp and a witch hunt, Dom, if Ken Starr hadn't been given $40 million in unlimited license to go through,
Hey, if a president
every
can lie to
nook
a
and
federal
cranny?
judge, why can't I?
Come on, man. If I had a personal investigation of your entire life, I know you, man. I'd be testifying against you at some point.
Bring it on, baby.
But you cannot tell me anyone's life held up to the entirety of scrutiny that there's something that you would not lie about. Because I know you, and you got some stuff you wouldn't want public. Come back, more Devils.
Impeachment is about restoring honor and integrity to the office.
I'm Satan reincarnated.
Impeachment is about cleansing the office.
What is that smell?
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs
and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerinAmerica.org, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
According to the Federalist Waller account being read into the congressional record by Ron Johnson, if this is just a small number of instigators and 100,000 true Trump-loving people, why did the Trumpsters stop the instigators? Why wouldn't you say, hey, they're not like us, let's stop those guys, instead of joining them and breaking into the U.S. Capitol?
I really believe I'd run into, even if I didn't have a weapon.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
Charged, never convicted. Dom and Croat are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, 844-967-2789.
Why are you going and get me all fired up? You barely started the show, man. I'm already tense.
Come on, man, because I got to push back, so I'm not buying what you're selling, brother.
And I'm not clear what part you're not buying. You don't think the Republicans would have the will to go through the impeachment process?
I think
for,
a few
for
would
something
start
like
the
Afghanistan.
No.
You don't
No.
think Kevin McCarthy, Speaker McCarthy, would get his caucus in line and they would put forth articles of impeachment? I mean, do you see the TV in the last couple of days?
That there won't be, as you mentioned, the Democrat Green and I think it was also Green, Marjorie Taylor Greene, some folks in that vein already. But no, I don't think it would pass the House unless there's legitimately some impeachable offense. I just don't think you're gonna be some stragglers that would certainly endeavor to do so, but no, they're not unless he does something more than what I've seen right now. No, I get the point, I get the politics, but I don't think that'll fly.
They will get more than 218 votes. If they win back the House, Joe Biden will be impeached in the House. He will go through the process of being impeached. I mean, this is the polarized politics we now find ourselves in. There doesn't have to be justification for the impeachment. They're going to say, oh, but you impeached Trump twice. It won't matter the justification for the impeachment.
Okay. I mean, there's no relationship between those things.
You don't think so? You don't think there'll be a retribution impeachment of Joe Biden?
Unless Joe Biden, if I can say it again more clearly, unless Joe Biden does something more than what we have seen, an impeachable offense, perhaps. No, I don't think that's going to fly.
Have you seen the calls for his resignation?
Sure. I saw
Trump
Rick Scott saying, based on the 25th Amendment, they should get Joe Biden out. Sure, I've seen those things.
As ridiculous as Republicans found it when we encouraged them to utilize the 25th Amendment against Donald Trump, you know how stupid they thought that was? Like they were going to turn on their own party. His own cabinet was going to take him out, right?
Right.
That was never going to happen. I always knew it was futile. I never advocated for the 25th Amendment. I never thought there was any plausible way that would happen. And I'm telling you, man, Democrats may not play in the same way, but we're not playing the same game that these Republicans are. You don't think they see the electoral advantage in impeaching Joe Biden? Absolutely.
I don't. I think it's an electoral disadvantage, especially if there's a circumstance in which Joe Biden did not do anything worthy of impeachment, no high crime or misdemeanor. And all you got to do is compare whatever action they would do with Joe Biden, compare it to what the last administration did to justify the actual impeachment then. So now you're going to have Republicans who already voted against the impeachment of Donald Trump twice for whatever that behavior was, that they're going to say that Joe Biden's behavior on whatever variable you think they're going to come forward with was above and beyond what Donald Trump did. They've already set the bar. It's pretty low.
Okay, Mitt Romney will vote with the Democrats to acquit Joe Biden, but the rest of them, the Mitch McConnells, the Kevin McCarthys, man, you got more faith in this electoral system than I do. 844-967-2789. Let's go to the phones. Our fair audience, they're joining early. Jeannie from Eau Claire, you're first. Welcome.
Hey, Jean.
You guys trying to give us more nightmares. Aren't we dealing with enough already? And you know what I say to them? Fascist son of a gun, if they try and impeach Biden, bring it on. Because, boy, there'll be an investigation and people squealing all over the place. People have had enough of those putrid you-know-what holes. And we're dealing again with the lashbacks of the pandemic. We are dealing with so much crap these Republicans have spewed out. Yeah, you got the mouthpieces that get in front of the camera all the time, but people are sick of it, and we're sick of them. They know what they stand for. They're fascists. Believe you me, enough of the people are going to come together. Maybe there's not a big, strong membership in the Democratic Party, but there's a lot of other organizations that said enough is enough. You did enough damage to our country, that they're all going to join together, and they're not going to put up with this crap anymore. I mean, come on. That attack on January 6th was more violent than what I saw in Afghanistan. And God darn it, Joe Biden thought he could do it. That guy has come through on everything he said. And then he gets stuck with the biggest messes our country has ever seen. And everybody thinks that he's just going to wave his wand and fix things. Sure, the guy's going to make some mistakes, and maybe he was given misinformation. And maybe the sneaky son of a gun Trump, the criminal, and all the people he had around him, maybe they had some deals going on. I mean, come on. Nothing was open with him, and he was dealing on the phone, and we even know the things that he did, and the Republicans didn't give one iota. And a lot of those Republicans are the ones that have did their own illegal activities. So bring it on, suckers, because guess what? We're going to be ready for you, and we are going to be calling, and we are going to be marching, because this is sick. So, Rudy, wipe that dirty filthy thought out of your mind, because we're not going to lay down and roll over and play, ooh, little Trumpsters are going to come and get us, because we're sick of the son of guns. They did enough damage to our country, and us old people are going to get out there fighting, and anybody else, because we're not going to put up with this crap. We've lost too many people already. We've lost a lot of income. People are hurting all over the place. So believe you me, there's still us that still got fire, and they better watch out, because this is sick. So thank you for letting me get my $1 million rant out.
I would have said it was worth at least that, Jeannie. Thank you for your call, and thank you for listening.
Wow, sister,
you're priceless.
That is what I am talking about. And it won't be easy. I mean, odds are, as Crudy said, the party in power is going to lose at least one chamber. I get that. But we still have Donald Trump. Donald Trump to be what? Prosecuted. Georgia, state of New York, city, DA of Manhattan. There's lots of headwinds for Donald Trump.
Did you
himself.
not read the
Then
Jeffrey
we have the
Toobin
investigation going on of the January 6th Trump terror attacks. And this is still going to go on. So these things are going to accumulate and come to a head right in time for people to start opening up their eyes and making decisions about who they're going to vote for.
Open up your eyes. I never thought you naive. More devil's advocates.
If I had to beat off impeachment.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is.
It is what it is. I had to beat off all this stuff.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
At Chaz Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Donahue with an AP News Minute. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman is making it clear to the Taliban regarding people who want to leave Afghanistan.
We expect them to allow all American citizens, all third country nationals, and all Afghans who wish to leave to do so safely and without harassment.
The chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, says the Taliban is not interfering with U.S. operations in Kabul, but
today, the situation is still very dangerous, very dynamic, and very fluid.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says there is American presence there.
The final elements of additional military forces continue to flow into Kabul, with about 4,500 in place as we speak. They are trained and equipped to defend themselves in their operations.
At least one person was killed when Taliban militants attacked protesters who dared to take down their banner and replace it with the Afghan flag. I'm Ed Donahue.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, leaving the light on for Meemaw and Peepaw and all the other maws and paws visiting the close to 4 million grandbabies born last year who've only seen you on a laptop. For all the bubbies, nanas, and papas ready to finally get your arms around those little loves, Motel 6 offers clean, comfortable rooms at a great low rate. We'll even call you Giga if you want. I'm Tom Bobo Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
To the
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Tuesday evening, the Wisconsin Department of Justice and Attorney General Josh Kaul announced legal action to remove Walker appointee Fred Pren from the Wisconsin Natural Resources Board, whose term ended on May 1st, but has refused to step down. Pren has remained in the position, citing a previous ruling that he can remain in the post until the legislature confirms his replacement. Republicans in the state Senate have yet to confirm Governor Evers' appointee to replace Pren. AG Kaul and the Department of Justice are asking the Dane County Circuit Court to rule that Pren's term is over. Partly cloudy skies to begin the day today with light and variable winds and a high of 83 degrees. Mostly clear skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 65 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Hump Day edition. Jeannie, that passionate call, we appreciate it. You can be like Jeannie. Call us 844-967-2789. I haven't even gotten to why I started with that little impeachment rant, Dom. But, you know, you like to be a contrarian on each and every topic on this show. So I'll leave time for you. Maybe you can push back a little bit against the former president, Donald Trump. I don't know if you saw this, but he went on the Maria Bartiromo. If you're looking for excuses to impeach Joe Biden, Donald Trump gave you one last night. His mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic. Let me read. Former President Donald Trump ranted against vaccine booster shots and falsely insisted the COVID-19 virus was virtually gone when he left office.
Yeah.
During an interview on the Foxy Business, host Maria Bartiromo on Wednesday with Trump said that he was proud to have taken the COVID vaccine. When I was president, you didn't have this problem with people not wanting to take it. They don't take it because they don't trust Biden and they don't trust the Biden administration. When I was the president, you didn't have people protesting the vaccine. You know, it's your followers protesting the vaccine. He's now president. He's doing a lousy job with coronavirus. Coronavirus is back. If that ever happened to me where it came back, okay, when I left, it was virtually gone. It was over. Now it's coming back through the Delta variant. And I don't know if you even want to call it that. All you call it is the China virus. According to the CDC, Dominic, COVID-19 cases were peaking in the United States when Trump left office. But,
Well, don't let the facts get in the way of a man's rant.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
You know, memories fade a little, Don.
Yes,
That's
they
my
do.
point. So a little bit more here. Trump also expressed doubt about the need for vaccine booster shots. They sound to me like a money-making operation from Pfizer. Think of the money involved, the booster shot. That's tens of billions of dollars. How good a business is that? If you're a businessman, you say, you know what? Let's give them another shot. You wouldn't think you would need a booster. When these first came out, they were good for life. But then they were good for a year or two. I don't, good for life? Maybe the life of your presidency. Then they were good for a year or two, and I could see the writing on the wall. You could see the dollar signs in their eyes. Yes. So there's another reason to impeach the president. His mishandling of the coronavirus.
Sure. Good
and
luck
the
with that.
rollout of the
Republicans.
vaccine.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
don't
need
want
to
to create
convince
a panic.
You don't need to convince the American people, Dom. Just 218 Republicans.
Yeah, but you kind of have to convince the American people. Well, I understand what you're saying. I mean, practically speaking, you're right. This vote goes in the House, and those numbers are what the numbers are. But you know, they're still representative of the American people. And if you're going to go forward with some mamby-pamby reason to try to impeach Joe Biden just because he's Joe Biden, I just have a feeling. I think Jeannie said it right. People are really tired of what has been going on. People want actual governance. That's what we want. We want our government to govern. and this internal, this political fighting, just for the sake of fighting for the power, and you did this to Trump, so now we're going to do this to Biden. I don't think that's the rationale, man. I mean, I get it. Some people might say it. Marjorie Taylor Greene might be the spokesperson for that. But if Marjorie Taylor Greene is your spokesperson, you're going to lose the majority of the votes.
Okay, but you would have already won back the House of Representatives under my hypothetical at this point, soon to be a realized prediction. If the Republicans win back the House, it's going to have disastrous consequences, Tom. I mean, the House of Representatives, you think Marjorie Taylor Greene, Louis Gohmert, and Kevin McCarthy are going to have big issues impeaching the next guy. I don't think Republicans take their oath of office that seriously. I remember what happened on January 6th. I remember the fact that the vast majority of these very same Republicans wanted to overturn the electoral outcome of the last election against Joe Biden. You remember that guy, the guy that's going to be impeached if they win back the House?
Yeah. But unfortunately, we're just starting an investigation. The good news about that is that investigation is going to go on during the midterms. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and people like Kevin McCarthy and their conversations and their input and their actions on that day, on January 6th, are going to be up for people to judge. They're going to have to get up there. They're going to have to talk about it, or they're going to have to claim and take the fifth. And how good does it look for a Republican member of Congress in the middle of an election cycle to take the fifth rather than testify to the select committee on January 6th? There's a lot of things that have to happen for what you're saying to happen to come to fruition. There's a lot of time between here and there.
So you're telling me the January 6th investigation somehow going to turn the election back to the Democrats? The House is going to be retained.
Do you see that investigation as a tailwind or a headwind for the Republican Party?
I think it's absolutely a headwind.
Okay, well, that's what I'm. Yes, good then. I'm glad we agree on that point.
You need what, 3 seats? And you could win 15 or so just through the redistricting and gerrymandering process in 4 states. I'm talking about Republicans. They're going to have the electoral advantage just through the gerrymander, Dom. Even if nothing happened, even if Democrats get 3% more votes, the next round, they're going to lose the House. Same electoral votes, same number of votes for Democratic candidates. They will lose the House. And when they lose the House, it's going to be unmoored. And I hope you're right, Tom. And there are other reasons why the American people may rebel against the bad governance of these Republicans. I think there's lots of reasons. But this has been going on since 1992. Realistically, this polarization of our country has been going on since the impeachment of Bill Clinton, the unjustified impeachment of Bill Clinton. And when he came out the other side of his acquittal, he had the support of 72% of the American people. But that didn't stop the Republicans from impeaching his ass. 844-967-2789. Uncle Steve from Middleton. Welcome, Uncle Steve. How you been?
Steve.
Didn't see you at the last family reunion.
I missed it. I was drinking. Dom, I'm usually on your side there, but you're making my head explode today. These guys, these Republicans don't think like us normal people. They don't mind comparing what Trump did with Biden. That's not going to stop them. They are going to do. They're going to impeach him no matter what. You already got 2 yahoos calling for it, even though they will have no good reason for it. And we got to stop being these naive, trusting Democrats and start getting out there and just being as zealous as those guys are, and start talking and being just as rabid as they are about stuff, because they don't give a rat's rear end what people think. Because like you say that, well, they're not going to get the majority of votes, but it doesn't matter. Look at Wisconsin. We have more Democrat votes than Republicans, but they control the legislature. They'll fix this thing somehow or some way, especially if they get in the House of Representatives. It's not going to be good.
Uncle Steve, do you think, setting aside the impeachment issue, which, we'll see in a year or two, but do you think that the Republicans, if they had the power of the House of Representatives, let's say in the last elective cycle in 2020, they had the House, Republicans did, do you think they would have used the power of the House to try and overturn the electoral outcome and send it back to state legislatures like the ones here in the state of Wisconsin, where the Republicans already had an alternative slate of electors. They picked their 10. They picked 10 false electors. So they already demonstrated every willingness to do this. They don't give a damn about norms.
I'm not sure this last one, if they would have had enough in the different states to do it, but there's going to be so many of these yahoos running and getting elected by backing Trump that if it comes to it the next time, I have no doubt that they'll send it back to the 3 or 4 states they need to change it and do it.
Oh, sorry, Steve. I thought you were done. Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin. What, Arizona? Arizona's got a Republican governor and a Republican legislature. Georgia's controlled by Republicans. The legislature in the state of Wisconsin is controlled by Republicans. I don't recall specifically, but I think Michigan is controlled by Republicans, at least on the Senate side. I mean, that's all it would have taken. You throw it back to the legislatures of those 4 states, they select new Trump supportive electors, and you got a different electoral outcome.
And I'm not clear that it's just that easy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not clear that you just throw it back, that the Republicans and in the majority, a small majority, but a majority in the House would have the ability and without no lawsuits, no issues. You're just say, no, we don't like this. We want these Republican state legislatures to give us new electors just because. I hear what you're saying. And Uncle Steve, I appreciate you saying. And again, odds are we're right, or you guys are right, that the Republicans will win back. But in the next presidential election, to suggest that there's going to willy-nilly, for no reason and no fight whatsoever, be able to just input the electors they want and change the course of an election.
No, they'll claim it's rigged if they don't get the outcome that they wanted.
Look how that worked this time. They already claimed it's rigged.
Really?
I mean,
it seems to me like we're on the brink of a successful coup d'etat on January 6th, Tom. If Mike Pence had been hung at the Capitol that day, instead of escaped, if Mitt Romney had been captured, I mean, can you imagine the course, the way that American history could have changed dramatically and tragically?
Yes, absolutely. Those folks would have been rounded up a whole lot faster than they already were. Well, what do you think? If they hung Mike Pence, you think that all of a sudden this country is going to say, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, Trump, you win?
No, it would have been torn into civil war. There would have been violence on the streets, I strongly suspect.
Well, between whom?
Think
the Trump supporters, the liberal wing of the Pence, Vice President Pence, and what, the maggots? Who's the civil war? If you're hanging Mike Pence, who's that war against? 1,000, terrorist Trumpsters versus 99% of the people who don't want to see even their political adversaries hung? Come on, man. No way. No way.
I've asked you often, what's the worst that could happen? And I think it could be a lot worse than your narrow imagination or creativity allows for, Don. It could be a lot worse.
I certainly, as we've been told many times, Curdy, anything is possible. Anything can happen. But I just, to get from here to there, did
you see January 6th coming? Did you envision that? Did you have the imagination to see that one coming?
Yes. We talked about it at length prior to it happening. What's going to happen on January 6th? What's going to happen? We had some guests that said, nothing's going to happen. We had some people that were concerned. So listen, I mean, obviously that happened, but that's still a huge minority of people, even a huge minority of Trump supporters.
And let me ask you, here in the state of Wisconsin, what was the vote of the Wisconsin Supreme Court deciding whether or not to take up the Trump case and perhaps throw it back as was being sought? The relief being sought by the Trump lawsuit, if I recall, Dom, was effectively what? Throw out the electoral outcomes. What was the vote? 4-3? So were we that far away?
Well, that was to hear the case, and then you got to win the case. So yeah, certainly,
but
man.
Three Republicans, 3 conservatives on the Wisconsin Supreme Court showed every willingness to accept the premise of Trump's assertion it was a rigged election and we should throw it all out and do it over. Or maybe just leave it up to the Republican legislature to decide. I mean, they voted and cast their own fraudulent electors. all the pieces were in place. So is it such a stretch to think the next time they might come back and try it again?
No, it's not. And it'll be just as successful as it was this time.
Because our society will hold forever, just like the Romans did. Could never crumble under the weight of this sort of constitutional crisis.
Well, we have less lead in the pipe and far less inbreeding, with the exception of some Republican Southerners. So, no, certainly it is up to us to fight and to stand up for what we believe a representative democracy looks like. But it was unsuccessful, wildly unsuccessful. And the repercussions are still raining down. We haven't even started what the hurt is going to be on those who inflicted this on our country.
Come back with us. Your phone calls are welcome here, and I'll eventually get to the reason why I started this argument. 844-967-2789. More Devil's Advocates.
COVID. By the way, on November 4th, you won't hear about it anymore.
Because we're very high.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever. Our friend Scott Russ.
Johnson's going to have this hearing next week. The way in which he has misused and abused his office in order to try and further these crackpot theories he had 2 anti-vaxxer hearings. I don't understand what the point of that is. It's one thing to be like, all right, if you're a Republican, you're like, I'll just try and forget that Trump said we might be able to inject ourselves with bleach to solve this COVID problem. But why would you so revel in your own crapulence that you would actually have several hearings in the United States Senate?
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines always open. Love to hear from our audience. Toll free, talk, or text, except you, George, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I want to get it out there this hour. I've been trying for an hour to include this Paul Waldman piece, the plumb line at the Washington Post, into the congressional record, if you will, Dom. The deep conflict that could produce a Democratic victory in 2022. We could win. We could. Every Democrat who can persuade themselves to look past the debates of the moment knows it's likely that Republicans will win at least one chamber of the Congress in the 2022 midterms, ending any chance at all of passing President Biden's ambitious agenda. The result would be yet another period of stagnation and inaction. But there is another possible future, one in which 2022 is one of the exceptions, an election in which the ruling party gains rather than loses seats. And then with their majorities, Democrats manage to make the kind of change they hope for. What would it take to bring that future about? The answer may lie in deeply rooted, unpleasant conflict. You can live with that, Tom. Of the kind happening now in so many states and on this show. For some time, a national battle is waged between Republicans who hold power at the state level and Democratic dominated cities, which often have radically different policy visions. It is particularly acute in states such as Texas, Arizona, and Georgia, and I would throw Wisconsin in there as well, that are becoming more liberal as the urban populations grow, while Republicans still hold a firm grip on state power due to their dominance in more rural areas and often aggressive gerrymandering. The pandemic has taken Republican propensity for passing preemption laws in which state legislatures ban cities and counties from passing progressive rules on things such as minimum wage or gun regulation and cranked it up to 11. So in state after state, far-right Republican governors are waging war on their own cities. Sometimes it's about public health. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis trying to keep school districts from requiring masks. Sometimes it's about elections. Georgia Republicans moving to take over elections in a county that includes most of Atlanta. And sometimes it's about GOP legislatures imposing far-right laws that even many Republicans disagree with, but are especially unpopular in liberal cities. The new Texas law allowing anyone to carry a handgun with no training or license. For example, in every case, the message to Democrats in the places they live is the same. It doesn't matter if you're the majority. We have the power and we're going to make you live under Republican rules forever. This conflict is only going to get worse as state level Republicans seek to tighten their grip over the fast growing liberal metro areas, creating regular state versus local conflicts, exacerbated by Republicans' fear that the power is tenuous and Democrats' anger at being ruled by a hostile minority. Population growth in Democratic areas is fueling the problem. Here's one vivid example from Ronald Brownstein. Texas perhaps best crystallizes how much large metros are now driving growth in the Sun Belt. Just the Houston, Dallas-Fort Worth, Austin, and San Antonio metropolitan areas, all jurisdictions where officials are defying Republican Governor Greg Abbott's ban on mask mandates, accounted for fully 87% of the new residents the state added since 2010. So in the Sun Belt in Texas, Tom, the people, the new immigrants to the state, and I don't mean, the kind from Mexico, I'm talking about state by state migration. They claim all the good Californians are coming here. Well, you know what? They're moving to the cities. They're not moving out the bumble, Texas.
Crudy, as the as the gap between demographic reality and political reality grows, so do the state local conflicts. That could make the 2022 midterm elections not so much a referendum on Biden's performance or the implementation of the infrastructure bill, but a forum in which this struggle over which America will lead toward the future is played out. At least that's what the Democrats should hope for. The opposition party so often does well in midterms because their voters are the ones who are mad, while the ruling party's voters may feel complacent or even slightly disappointed after a president from their party is elected. Every day brings what the opposition considers new horrors that motivates them to strike back at the polls, leading the kind of sweep we saw in 2018, 2010, and 1994. But, Crudy, Democrats could get their voters to turn out next year as if they were the aggrieved ones, depending on how they see the issues at stake. To understand why, we should re-examine what drove those voters during the Trump presidency. The motivation Donald Trump provided to Democratic voters in 18 and 20 was certainly about their personal distaste for him, but he represented something deeper and broader, something that Democrats may still find urgent and threatening. Trump's victory in 2016 snapped liberals out of a false sense of security, their belief that in its valleys and politics, the country was moving inexorably into the right direction. That election showed them that the forces of backlash were strong enough to reverse, if only for a moment, the cultural, social, and political trends they thought were irresistible. Trump's election represented a repudiation of everything they believed in and sought for their country. So they had to mobilize in response, and they did. And while Trump himself may not be the same daily presence he was, though by next November he could be preparing another presidential campaign and be on everyone's mind again, Trumpism, not only as a political style, but as a scorched earth assault on liberalism, is undiminished. history suggests that a Republican sweep in the midterms might still be the most likely outcome. But if Democrats can persuade their own voters to see the real stakes, and if extreme Republicans keep defying majority opinion and starting fights where they're on the wrong side of public opinion, the next few years could look very different.
So Paul Waldman suggests, if I understand it, Dom, the only hope that Democrats have is that Republicans are so terrible at governance that the voting base of the Democratic Party will be outraged. And he suggests it's happening because on the state level, Republican governance is so harsh. And in fact, they're so harsh even to their own residents, especially those that live in the cities. Right here in the state of Wisconsin, Scott Walker made a career out of pitting the rural against the urban and the public sector workers against the private sector workers. Conflict works very well for Republicans.
But it also motivates those who do not want those Republicans in power. So that, I mean, you know, we could have the very same kind of emotion and outcome and outturn that we did in the last election, if not more, man, because people are going to realize, number one, statistically, the Dems are back on their heels. And number two, as time goes by and we see more of what actually went down, the planning and preparation for January 6th, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very discouraged on the Republican side.
You think that Republican voters are going to be discouraged by the January 6th outcome?
It's one thing. And then when they see Trump, you know, lose some of that shine, I think that will also have an impact.
I had no idea. I really had no idea, man. I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting, but what color is the sky in your world?
Blue, baby.
Come back with us. More rose-colored glasses assessments for my little buddy and the truth from Crudy. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates is next.
We will be back in some form.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Hey man, you still driving to Beloit for gummies and carts? Yeah, man, it's a real drag. Well, stop wasting gas, man, and ride your bike over to Williamson Street and stop into Quality CBD. They have gummies and carts. Huh? They have gummies? And all your favorites like Delta 8, Delta 10, and THCP. Wow, man, where are they located? Find Quality CBD at 1222 Williamson Street in Madison. For more information, visit qualitycbd.org. That's qualitycbd.org. Hey, Jimmy, have you heard of the new live music venue in downtown Brooklyn? New York City? No, Jimmy, Main Street Music in Brooklyn, Wisconsin, 20 minutes south of Madison.
I see they feature local music like rock, country, and they even get heavy sometimes.
Well, that's right, Jimmy. Brand new stage, live music Friday and Saturday nights. We have Sunday Bloody Mary bar with open mic, plus a full bar and locally made pizza. We are Brooklyn, Wisconsin's only live music venue. For more information, find us on Facebook or go to mainstreetmusicmore.com.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says the situation is dangerous in Afghanistan, but the work goes on.
We're going to get everyone that we can possibly evacuate it. And I'll do that as long as we possibly can, until the clock runs out or we run out of capability.
More U.S. troops are in Kabul at the airport to try to get people out. There have been no reports of resistance from the Taliban. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair General Mark Milley had a message for Afghan vets.
Almost 800,000 should hold their head high.
Milley says they prevented an attack on the U.S. homeland.
To each of them, I want you to know personally that your service mattered.
There is sharp criticism from the World Health Organization to the decision by the U.S. to start a plan to offer booster coronavirus shots 8 months after the last shot. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
WHO Emergencies Chief Michael Ryan says poor nations don't even have enough vaccine to give their people a first shot.
We're planning to hand out extra life jackets to people who already have life jackets, while we're leaving other people to drown without a single life jacket.
Here in Washington,
I do not accept the idea that we have to choose between America and the world.
Surgeon General Vivek Murthy says there's a responsibility to both. White House officials say the U.S. has donated 115 million vaccine doses to 80 nations, more than all other countries combined. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Heavy rains from Tropical Depression Fred are threatening to cause mudslides and flash floods in upstate New York. A reversal of wind direction is expected to test some previously quiet fire containment lines in Northern California. The Caldor fire continues to grow explosively near Lake Tahoe. A watchdog report says Census Bureau computer servers were exploited last year during a cybersecurity attack, but it didn't involve the 2020 census. This is AP News.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at metamucil.com today.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, leaving the light on for Meemaw and Peepaw and all the other maws and paws visiting the close to 4 million grandbabies born last year who've only seen you on a laptop. For all the bubbies, nanas, and papas ready to finally get your arms around those little loves, Motel 6 offers clean, comfortable rooms at a great low rate. We'll even call you Giga if you want. I'm Tom Bobo Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Chad's Design Build is proud to sponsor the Summer of Love on Devil Radio. We are committed to our community to demand better for each and every person. Doing the right thing isn't necessarily easy or inexpensive, but when we take the time to listen and learn, we can build a better community. Thoughtful remodeling is a lot like building an effective, progressive coalition. It takes patience, intelligence, and love. Experience helps too. Thank you, Joe Biden, and thank you, Devil Radio. On behalf of Chad's Design Build, here's to the Summer of Love.
Hey, how's it going? Come down to 550 State Street. At Knuckleheads, we're your one-stop shop for all your CBD, glass, hookah, cigar needs. We got deals like buy 4, get 1 free on papers, cones, CBD carts. Too many things to list. Call 608-284-0151. Ask a friendly neighborhood Knucklehead any questions. Or check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com. Knuckleheads at 550 State Street. We got you covered. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why you're listening to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of the Atomic Koi. Come to the Koi and tell them you're there because the devil sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Devil Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of the Atomic Koi and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
5 9s, your local single source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Yesterday, Stephen Olikara, who had formed an exploratory committee earlier this year, officially announced he is running for the Democratic nomination in Wisconsin's 2022 U.S. Senate race. Olikara joins a crowded field of Democratic candidates looking to replace U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, who has yet to announce his plans for 2022. According to Wisconsin Department of Transportation Secretary Craig Thompson, the state could see up to $79 million over the next 5 years to devote towards electric vehicle charging stations across the state if Congress passes the bipartisan infrastructure plan it is working on. Secretary Thompson says the state is working with private companies in planning an EV charging station grid throughout Wisconsin. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. and due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, hopefully a less conflicting hour, more congenial.
Yeah. Good luck on that.
Why can't we just be friends?
Why can't we just get along?
Dominic, we talked about perhaps the rationale and the reason why the Democrats could hold serve in the midterms. And in no small part, it would be the bad governance of Republicans. And the Paul Waldman piece we referenced and read a big part of, Waldman thinks one of the big issues is the contention being created by Republican state level leadership against cities in their own state. And specifically, we're looking at, Florida, we're looking at Texas, hell, even here in the state of Wisconsin, what power Republicans have is usually usurping the will of the people here in the great state of Wisconsin, or we'd have legalized weed, we'd have Medicaid expansion, we'd accept, the $1 billion from the federal government to expand Medicaid. Hell, man, there's a lot of things we do if Republicans were governing to the will of the people.
The will of the majority.
The will of the majority,
Yeah,
not just their caucus or their donors.
Right.
Before we dig in deeply in this new topic, we got a few callers holding over. Very patient people like Ross from Middleton. Ross, welcome. What do you got for us?
All right, you guys are hitting on there's a lot of stuff going on. Like locally in Wisconsin, like we think this formula of off-year elections where it just seems the trend is that the governing parties seats for the reasons that you described. And I think it was that Walden piece. But this is this is a different time we're living in. So we'd be looking at Senator Johnson, who I think is very vulnerable. There's probably some little Wisconsin issues that could be come into play. And then the only other district would be Ron Kind's district. And the question I'm thinking, like with Kind, is if you have a moderate Democrat with strong agricultural background, we could keep Ron Kind's district and sort of make this sort of a formula. Because I think in this Trump era, everything is upside down. And I think I have this feeling like people don't want to go back to the Trump era. They don't want to go back to that craziness. That's my 2 cents.
Well, it depends on whether or not they were Trumpsters to begin with, Ross. You invoked U.S. Senator Ron Johnson from the great state of Wisconsin. We've got a soundbite. Our fine producer, Fancy Brand Ross, you're going to want to hear this one. Here's the reason, according to Rojo, why Rojo has won election and re-election in the state of Wisconsin. Play it for the people and for our pal Ross.
I think it's actually one of the things the people that do support me in Wisconsin see in me is they realize I'd rather be somewhere else. I'd rather do something else. I don't want to, it's not that I want to be a U.S. Senator. I'm not seeking the title. It's because I so love this country, as do Trump supporters.
Because he so loves us, Ross. As do Trump supporters.
They love it so much. They want to squeeze it so hard and break its windows and crap all over its walls. They just have so much love to give for this country.
Kind of like a newborn baby. You remember, I believe, the very first question. Ron Johnson used to come on the show with some frequency, Dom, and he started doing so, about 2014, 2015, about the time he was to face re-election. And perhaps he's trying to humanize himself, or God only knows what motivated Ron. But I believe the very first question I ever asked Ron, at the time I owned a small business, a different small business than a radio station. I said, Ron, you own a small business. It's a little wealthier than mine. I said, I own a small business. And here's the great thing about owning your own business. You are the king of your own domain. You know, in your little world, that is your kingdom and you control it. You rule it. In this case, with an iron fist. But I said, Ron, why would you want that crappy $184,000 a year job, which would be a huge raise? But I'm in the radio business, that merry and well in the plastics industry, Dom. And no, what was Ron's answer? Why did Ron want that crappy job? I'm still not sure why Ron ever wanted that crappy job.
I so love this country.
That's why he's in such love with this country, especially the conservatives in this country. The liberals and progressives, maybe not so much.
So do you think Ron Johnson thinks he's serving all Wisconsinites?
I think Ron Johnson gets the impression that he's sacrificing, for the greater good. Hell, the opportunity cost for Ron Johnson are in the trillions of dollars. He would rather do something else, but he's sacrificing for you, for Fancy Brian, for me, and our fair audience. I mean, if you listen to what he said, that's the way I read it. He's doing you a favor, Crudy.
And of course, the U-Lines being the huge donor family, the couple, and the widow Hendricks, well, cumulatively, Dom, he worked very hard for those people. He gave them a $215 million single-year tax cut just for those two families. And they reciprocated by helping him win re-election back in 2016, Dom. $21 million in campaign contributions from those two families to your buddy, Senator Ron Johnson. Now, why don't you have Ron come around like he used to, Dom?
That's a hell of an ROI. Because I don't want to personalize. It's like, make it humanize the guy anymore. I think that maybe you had a fault in that, Crudy. I talked to his staff like back in October for I was in Detroit, and I probably talked to the guy for like half hour, 45 minutes. And it's just, it's not a good match anymore. Let's just put it that way.
Us and the U.S. Senator from the state of Wisconsin, Ron.
Yeah,
we're not ever going to make it back to the
and Ron, I just want to be clear on this, and it's not us, it's you.
Okay, as long as we're clear, because from the audience's perspective and perhaps even mine, I'm not clear why we ever booked Ron Johnson on this show.
He kept saying yes.
We could have made it these last 10 years with or without Ron Johnson's presence. But, he did help us make a few headlines, mostly through ignorance.
What's the drinking age again?
Yikes. I don't know. 844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC. Welcome back. It's your crack, Mark. Take it.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to. Thanks, guys, but it's hard not to take a crack at Ron Johnson. A guy who enriched himself through that tax cut. He didn't get the 200 the tax cut in the hundreds of millions of dollars, but he certainly did well for himself personally in that tax cut. And how Democrats need to start advertising to the people of the state of Wisconsin the damage that Republicans are doing in the rural areas. Because of Republicans, you do not have broadband in your rural area up in northeast Wisconsin, rural northwest Wisconsin, central, rural northern, central Wisconsin, rural southwest Wisconsin, and southeast Wisconsin.
No, we get the regions, Mark. And it's more than just the lack of high-speed internet. I mean, hell, right. I can go 15 minutes outside of Madison and find lapses in the cell phone and the internet coverage.
But you got to hammer that. You have to hammer points like that home. That in areas of the state where they've poisoned the water, where industries have poisoned the water, Republicans don't even want you to have bottled water, where you probably shouldn't be showering that water. Republicans are standing in the way of laws going through to try to make your water safer and make the people who are responsible for poisoning our water safer. I mean, the Democrats need to just be aggressive and it's not just that. I mean, that they just need to kind of hammer that point home. And as far as like the 11 false electors that the Republicans tried, send jokingly to Washington, arrest those guys for the fraud. There's got to be charges, some kind of fraud charges you can bring against them, and toss their asses in jail at least for overnight or however long it takes. And note that. And heaven help, that cosmos karma forgive me, but I'm not really offering any prayers up for Andre Jacques or any of his Republican colleagues that come down with this virus. And, that it's just disgusting that he's taken up hospital bed space now. This should be going to a more deserving citizen rather than Andre Jacques.
Well, and Mark, appreciate your call. And for those who don't know who Andre Jacques is, he's a big boy. And I suspect he might be using up a couple of hospital beds because, they probably got to put them together like a queen size. Because otherwise, I don't know how they would accommodate the man. And he was one of the 15 insurrectionist Republicans in the state of Wisconsin that wrote a letter to the vice president the day before the insurrection, asking him not to certify the election for Joe Biden. That guy, the one Republican state senator that signed off, he's been up there at every Stop the Steal rally, every maskless anti-vaxxer rally. Hell, he's made a name for himself. And Dom, is a big boy. I mean, I'm a little bit of a big boy. I'm a hefty guy, but he's a big boy. He's a use the freight elevator kind of big boy.
Yeah, he
should have been vaccinated.
Probably in an area of health that would be very concerning coming down with COVID. Apparently he had some pneumonia, and they're playing it kind of coy. I'm not clear if he's still in the hospital, if he just went to the hospital. The reporting is a little unclear in that regard. But Mark, I appreciate it, man, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm it's almost like you get what you deserve, but karma's a bitch, and I hate to go down that road. And certainly, he still has family, he still has kids, apparently has a newborn at home. Now they're going to be at risk. There's innocent people around him that we should certainly be concerned about as well, and hopefully nothing happens. But if something does, I'm curious to know if he comes out of it or does not come out of this healthy, will that change any Republicans' minds? I don't think so.
Come back with us. It was all part of God's plan, Don.
Sure it is.
I think that it's Jesus's blood and, the beads of the rosary keeping big Andre healthy and laboring, but healthy, alive, still ticking as far as we know. And that Cardinal from Wisconsin, he is also on death's door. I'm not saying Jack is, but Cardinal Burke might be. More devil's advocates.
I so love this country.
I will name him George, and I will hug him and pet him and squeeze him.
As do Trump supporters.
The Devil's Advocates.
Darren from Madison tells us he's a former Capitol Police officer.
You can't even compare the two of what happened, yesterday and with Act 10.
Darren, did you as a Capitol Police officer ever witness any violence in the Wisconsin State Capitol?
Nope, not at all. It's about as peaceful can be when it comes to peaceful protesting. It was an unlawful assembly. But at the end of the day, there was no violence. At the end of the day, it was people coming in and singing.
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just,
Only you can prevent wildfires.
like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, explains why God kicked Trump out of the White House.
Oh,
this is a spiritual battle of epic proportions.
What?
There's going to be so many people coming to Jesus. It is Devil Radio, man. Suck it, God, in this case. Please don't strike me dead with lightning, God. So, I'm just doing it for the show's sake.
Yeah, right.
Work with me on
That's
this.
all I'm at. You're hurting God right now, Rudy.
Women want them. Men want to be them. Tom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can always join us on the phones, talk or text toll free 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to turn my attention way down south in the land of Dixie. A Florida man named Ron DeSantis had a few things to say. Fancy Brian, going to need your help. Ron DeSantis, of course, is battling science and reality right now in his quest to be the most Trump-like, MAGA-supportive frontrunner for the next Republican nomination, right? Ron DeSantis is showing all his cards, giving every indication he's going to run for president. Well, first, he's got to win re-election in Florida. One must think that'd be a good launch pad for the presidential campaign. But I suspect by January of 2023, Don, when we, gallivant over to Iowa, we're going to see Ron DeSantis prominently at the Citizens United events and all the Republican events and all the town halls and the grope and grabs. Oh, he's going to be prominent, Dom. And I bet he won't be wearing a mask. And none of the children in Florida this year are going to be wearing a mask either. I've seen some clever approaches trying to get around these gubernatorial orders in Texas and Florida. See the newest effort in Texas? Texas Governor Greg Abbott has banned masks in the school district, but apparently left them something of a loophole, Dom. The loophole being they're going to make it part of the dress code. No shirts, no shoes, no masks,
service,
no studying at this school.
The only spaghetti straps are allowed on your face.
Well, here's what Ron DeSantis, apparently he's the gubernator of Florida, Dom. Here's what he said today. Look at Europe. Cut 70.
Britain doesn't have kids in masks. In fact, during their Delta wave, they didn't have the school kids in masks. European countries overwhelmingly have rejected that.
I'm not sure that that's entirely true. I can't speak specifically to Britain, but I believe Israel, who have had their kids back in person learning. When you look at the outcomes for European countries, my understanding is those that masked their children were able to effectively continue in-person education. And those that refuse to allow the children to wear masks have been unsuccessful and have multiple quarantine circumstances and school closures and COVID deaths. But, Europe, more from Governor DeSantis, that Florida man, cut 71.
Forcing young kids to wear masks all day, these kindergartners, having the government to force that, that's not defying me. That's defying the state of Florida's laws and the Parents' Bill of Rights that was enacted just this past legislative session that I signed into law.
That's not defying me. I will not back down. So DeSantis, he's quite proud of this legislative piece. Not me. Me and the Republican legislature. We passed this together. You're defying us. A little bit more from DeSantis. Breaking the law. Cut 72.
You have local officials who do not believe they need to follow the law. That's what this is about.
Not if the law is asinine and deadly, potentially for school-age children. You're playing with people's kids here, Ron DeSantis. Other people's kids. More from DeSantis, cut 73.
The percentage of people who are being hospitalized that are COVID positive are overwhelmingly people that have not been vaccinated. And even more overwhelmingly are people that have not, once infected, got the monoclonal antibody treatment.
The monoclonal antibody treatment. Now, that's called remdesivir or something of that sort, right, Dom? The drug cocktail he's referencing. Right. And a huge donor to his campaign is a big supporter and recipient and backer and investor
right?
In this drug cocktail.
Baby. Yeah.
And this guy's giving the governor of Florida over $5 million in campaign contributions. And what do you know? Do you know at the Florida Citrus Bowl, I believe, Dom, they had a COVID action site, only they weren't offering any vaccinations. They were offering this drug cocktail, the antibody monoclonal whatever cocktail. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not down with the intelligent medical talk of the Florida governor, treat them after they get the coronavirus.
Right.
Let's not vaccinate, because that's about the same. One more from DeSantis. Cut 74.
Starting today and for 7 days a week from 9 to 5 here at CB Smith, we'll be having monoclonal antibody treatments. We can do over 300 individual treatments a day.
How many vaccinations could you be giving out a day, DeSantis? And, as I cast aspersions on the state of Florida, I would remind those listening here in the state of Wisconsin, Florida has a higher vaccination rate than we do.
Crudy, this came out yesterday from the Washington Post. The Hillsborough County Public Schools, which includes Tampa, Florida, has 8,400 students and 307 staff members either in isolation because of a positive test or in quarantine after coming into close contact with someone who tested positive.
That's just because they did that damn contact tracing, Dom.
The number of students who are either in isolation or quarantine jumped by nearly 3,000 from the total given by the school district on Monday.
They're just the weak ones. The strong will survive here, Tom.
Well, other people's kids, and DeSantis proud of it. And again, you see this, and we talked about it earlier. This different philosophy from these metropolitan big cities that are much of the time more progressive, more liberal, and some of these conservative state legislatures. Well, here you go. And I don't, at some point there is a breaking point. Either DeSantis is going to be right, and things will eventually, taper off, or it's going to be wrong, and it's going to be more than 27,000 infections a day. They continue to set records, as far as I know. And he's going to have to face the music at some point if kids start dying. 8,000 kids, 8,400 kids, either in isolation or in quarantine.
The United States crested over 1,000 COVID deaths again today. It's been a long time, but we're back.
We're back, baby.
Devil's advocates.
What are you selling, Mr. Snake Oil?
Simply follow the science.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
From Wisconsin Dells to Dousman, WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic.
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral-forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
This is Crudy, and I recommend calling Dave and the team at Community PC to solve all your computing needs. What do I call Community PC? Because I don't want to learn new things about tech. Because I don't want to call the manufacturer's customer service line and waste half the day of my life. Because I don't want to ask my kid for help and have him respond, okay, boomer. Just call Community PC at 608-268-7178 for their patient service. Just let Community PC fix it. 608-268-7178. Call
Virus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished lower, the Dow down 382 points. The new recommendation from the CDC is to get a coronavirus booster shot 8 months after the last shot. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy says there are reasons for the change in strategy.
Recent data makes clear that protection against mild and moderate disease has decreased over time. This is likely due to both waning immunity and the strength of the widespread Delta variant.
The World Health Organization's Dr. Michael Ryan says the booster plan in the U.S. is not a good idea.
We're planning to hand out extra life jackets to people who already have life jackets, while we're leaving other people to drown without a single life jacket. That's the reality.
The doses could begin the week of September 20th. Details haven't been worked out, but people who receive the single dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine will also probably need extra shots. I'm Ed Donahue.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, leaving the light on for Meemaw and Peepaw and all the other maws and paws visiting the close to 4 million grandbabies born last year who've only seen you on a laptop. For all the bubbies, nanas, and papas ready to finally get your arms around those little loves, Motel 6 offers clean, comfortable rooms at a great low rate. We'll even call you Giga if you want. I'm Tom Bobo Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Yesterday, Public Health Madison and Dane County announced a new indoor mask mandate for Dane County beginning Thursday morning. The order will be in effect until September 16th and applies to all Dane County residents over the age of 2 when in any enclosed buildings open to the public. According to a new report by the Dane County Traffic Safety Commission, the county has already exceeded the traffic crash death toll the county experienced in 2020, continuing the trend of increased traffic fatalities. 35 people in Dane County have passed away due to road incidents already this year. Partly cloudy skies to begin the day today with light and variable winds and a high of 83 degrees. Mostly clear skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 65 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about. Dom and Krutz are the devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Fully clothed, I assure you. Live New Devils was last
Live
week.
New Devils. We need to get a neon sign, baby.
Dominic, the Hill.com reporting, this sort of dovetails what I mentioned. Texas school officials think they found a dress code loophole in the Greg Abbott ban of face masks for school children. Going to freaking indoor schools with a lot of other kids. The Board of Trustees for school districts in Texas are amending their dress code for students to include masks in a bid to get around Governor Greg Abbott's executive order banning mask mandates in schools. The Paris Independent School District announced the new changes to the dress code in a press release on Tuesday, weeks after Abbott issued an executive order banning schools from requiring face masks. This is the same guy that had to send out for what? 5 where do you send the dead bodies, Dom? The morgue?
Morgues? Yeah,
they had to
he's
get 5 morgue
temporary,
trailers.
like semi-trailer truck morgues.
To hold the dead bodies in Texas. The Board of Trustees is concerned about the health and safety of our students and employees. The board believes the dress code can be used to mitigate communicable health issues and therefore has amended the dress code to protect our students and employees, the school district said in a release. The district went on to say that Abbott lacks the authority to usurp the board's exclusive power and duty to govern and oversee the management of public schools of the district. Nothing in the governor's executive order 38 states he has suspended Chapter 11 of the Texas Education Code, and therefore the board has elected to amend the dress code consistent with its statutory authority.
Oh,
yeah, little take that, you moron. The move comes after another school district in Texas said recently it will keep its mask mandates for students in place despite a recent ruling from the state's high court upholding Abbott's ban. So they got a god-awful Supreme Court down there as well, Dom. School districts in Republican-led states, including Florida, Oklahoma, and Arizona, have implemented similar policies in recent weeks, defying orders banning such measures by state leaders as the Delta variant has fueled a surge in coronavirus cases in different parts of the nation. Now, Dom, I just read an article 5 minutes ago. 15% of all coronavirus cases now are children. 15%, 1-5. And there were 5 children that died, I believe it was just in the state of Mississippi this week from coronavirus. So I realized, statistically speaking, only 5 dead kids. Oh, we can throw away 5 dead kids quickly.
Yeah, what are the chances, really?
Obviously, I say this with sarcasm because we're talking about somebody's child, multiple people's children, and they're dying from COVID, and there are long haul consequences. Getting COVID is kind of a bad thing. Was it as much as 20-25% of all people that contract this disease have it for months and months and months and have ongoing symptoms? And God only knows what the long-term health ramifications, even if one recovers from the COVID. But I got to tell you, Dom, I'm a little concerned. My kids are going back to school. In Middleton, where my kids attend, mask mandates are the rule. District has already ruled that.
Yeah,
the governor of the state of Wisconsin
is
not trying to jam through any executive orders, although we have Republican state lawmakers trying to ban the university system here in the state of Wisconsin from setting their own policies on everything from vaccinations to masks. Because, some Republican jacknut who makes 51 grand a year as a state lawmaker, he knows better than the medical professionals. 844-967-2789. Wisco Paul, I saw you before. You're back. Welcome back. Paul, what do you got for us?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, good afternoon, Devils. On your first little argument there, Crudy, you're correct. If, and I say if, the Republicans win back the House, they will impeach Biden just because they like doing that kind of thing. But
pardon.
If they pass all these voting laws in these states, they probably will win back the House, and there's not much you can do about it. We'll see what happens there. The Democrats have some time, and the same with January 6th. But as far as the virus, there's a good chance that they could shut down the whole economy again here. And I don't know if you can recover from that. So I wish the Republicans would think about that because they're supposed to be watching money. Hey, and speaking of the mask mandate, how is that going to work out for your party, Crudy and Dom? And I'll let you guys go.
Well, here's how it's going to work out, Paul. First and foremost, if you ain't vaccinated, don't come to the party. No offense. I'm sure there are some with conscientious objections, but so what? You're not coming to the party at Hawks. So if you are vaccinated, please come on down. And according to Dane County mandate, which goes into effect tomorrow at midnight, indoors at Hawks, there will be mask required. Now, I can tell you, Dominic and I have been doing indoor radio for a year and a half. And when we're on the air, we're not going to wear masks. So if that is objectionable to you, that we cannot do an effective radio show with a mask over our mouths, it's muffling. Got to hear us sexy and clear, then don't come to the party. But Hawk does have an outside grotto sort of area there on State Street, and weather permitting, I'm going to encourage the party to go out on the deck. That's my thought. We've done that a couple times this year.
Yeah, I like the outdoor. Absolutely.
So we will probably, if feasible, broadcast from outdoors. If we're indoors, you will need to bring a mask down. If you're not vaccinated, don't come to the party. But the rest of you, that's why we got vaccinated. We got vaccinated. So despite the fact that we've got jacknut idiot neighbors who refuse, because I haven't seen enough evidence yet, we are going to have a hell of a good time. We're going to party because it's still summer loving around here, because in my hometown, people got vaccinated. They did the right thing. And if they didn't, they're listening to Vicky right now and they won't be at the party.
844-967-2789. Just a couple of numbers from the New York Times with regards to Florida. As of yesterday, the 7-day average of daily infections in Florida, 24,720, almost 25,000 a day. That, according to the chart here, going all the way back to March of 2020, is the highest that it has been. Also, with regards to hospitalizations, current hospitalization numbers, 16,000 people in Florida are hospitalized, and that is a 48% increase over the last 14 days. And deaths, hospitalizations also highest that they've ever been in Florida. Deaths, average daily on August 17th, 138 deaths yesterday in Florida. That's a 14-day change of 123%. The number of deaths in Florida is over 41,000, and deaths are also perhaps not quite peaked, but very high compared to all the data going back to March of 2020. So Florida right now is about in as bad a shape as it has ever been.
And unfortunately, morbidity, death from the COVID-19 is a trailing indicator. First, you see the positives, then you see the hospitalizations, then you see the deaths. 844-967-2789. Jake from Milwaukee. Welcome, Jake. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jake.
Hey, don't you think this is like the biggest genocide of American citizens by one political group in this country ever? Because, over 600,000 people dead, probably reaching close to 700,000 people. And I'm sure most of that's in Florida and Texas. But, it's genocide. They're letting this happen. I mean, I bet you the mortality rate in Republican areas is higher than in bluer areas. To me, that just seems, I don't know if there's a stat on that, but I bet you right now, if you live in Florida, your chance of dying a unnatural death has just shot up. And in Texas,
well, come on, that's the risk you take by living in Florida, Jake.
Yeah, but this again too. I mean, now they're using children and they're killing them with COVID now too. And they're the pro-life party. I mean,
they're the pro-birth party, Jake.
Yes,
they've never been the pro-life.
Well,
party.
they're the forced government birthing party. Let's just call it what it is. They want the government to force you women to have babies,
and then have them die of COVID. I mean, hell, you might as well. And that's their healthcare plan. Republicans are committing genocide. Vicky McKenna, Clan, the Dan O'Donnell, and all the rest of them are just as guilty of this genocide, and everyone who supports them. So I'm just making the blanket statement. This is genocide by Republicans, conservative death cult.
All right. I would say this, Jake, and thank you for the call and the passion. And you're kind of right. Genocide is
I'd say mostly right.
It's not an attack. Allowing this doesn't impact a particular ethnic group or nation. Unfortunately, that would be it gets everybody. Lots of Republicans, lots of Democrats, a lot of independents, people that don't vote, don't care. Everybody can get the Rona. So it's not a genocide, but a death cult? Hell yes. Right, you got something?
Yeah, I just want to say something about schools and masks and things like that. I guarantee you that most parents, at least most parents that I've talked to, do not care whether, and most kids as well, do not care whether they're masked or not. The most important thing for most parents is the childcare issue. Because for me, last year, it was all virtual almost the entire year, right? Well, both of us work. Where does my kid go? Well, guess what? I have to pay for the after-school program to send my kid to the actual school where she's not allowed to go, to be masked up and isolated from the teacher who's upstairs teaching the virtual class, and sometimes she comes down with a mask on to go and help my kid. So what are we doing here? Because the point is, most people aren't arguing, I need masks or I hate masks. There's fringe idiots on both ends, but for the most part, parents just want childcare at the same time as education.
Yeah, but the sort of parents that would homeschool their kids, they got a whole different take on it. Blood of Christ protects my child. It's right there in the Bible. Don't wear a mask. Somewhere it's in the back somewhere. New Testament, Old Testament.
I think it's the old, but you can't mix the linens and the wools. Remember. Enjoy the shrimp.
Who could forget? 844-967-2789. Dick from Madison, you're next. Welcome, Dick. What do you got?
Hey, Dick.
I totally agree with Jeannie early in the show. I think between indictments coming in late September, that's when I predict they're coming. And we need federal laws on voting restrictions. And that'll be the next thing they take up after infrastructure. So we can crush these things that are coming out of Texas and Florida and several other states. But to DeSantis, the other thing that's biting him in the butt already, from what I'm reading, it's the monetary thing that's hitting already. There's been several conventions that have been canceled in Orlando, Tampa. When it starts going that route, it's not going good for them. And what did you say? 25,000 new cases a day?
Yeah, 7-day
you're not
average,
going the right-
24,720.
How's that working for you, folks? Not too good. But
I'm going to
give me
Disneyland.
Yeah, and I'm going to walk through that pond over there full of gators and see how I come out too. But
Well, that's your right to do, Dick, and no one can tell you different.
Right. But it's just and now another thing that'll be coming up in the next few days is some numbers coming out of the Sturgis get together. That'll be all over the country, as we all know. But it amazes me. Texas, Louisiana, Florida now constitutes what, 52 or 3% of all cases. Doing a great job, guys.
Doing a heck of a job, Brownie. Appreciate your call, Dick.
Thanks, Dick.
My understanding, Trump rallies were huge super spreader events. My understanding, I heard this statistically laid out. Now, I cannot tell you the source material off the top of my head. Heard it on the news yesterday. There was a prediction. They tried to extrapolate the math from the communities where Trump went and did rallies. Trump rallies may have been responsible for something like 30,000 COVID transmissions and about 700 dead.
Wow.
Those that attended Trump rallies caught the COVID and then subsequently died. But it was all worth it because he won in the end, right? Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
You're talking about Delta, sir. Of course I'm talking about Delta, you twerp.
You're all gonna die!
Delta's already on probation. Then as of...
I'm just texting him back. I'm just posting a story. I'm just changing the song.
No. When it comes to distracted driving, just don't. Sending a text takes your eyes off the road for just 5 seconds, but in that time, your car can travel the length of an entire football field. Any distracted driving just isn't worth it.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
I'm not down for voter suppression in my state.
No, right. This. It's got to be easy. It was great to have these options. We should have these options. We should have days off for people to go vote. We should expand the availability, the ease of our own citizens in this country to participate in self-governance. Republicans, why are you so opposed to that?
Because they lose those elections.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates. They refuse to do math on the radio.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open 844-967-2789.
Dominic, you posted an Axios piece. It features some polling. Most Americans favor mandates. Margaret Talev goes inside the numbers. I'm going to share some of them with you and our audience. Percentage of adults supporting mandatory, pardon me. Is it a Monday? Feels like a Monday. Mandatory masking in schools. And they break this down by political affiliation. Democrats, 92% of Democrats favor masking in school by mandate. 67% of independents, 69% overall, which includes, Dom, about 44% of Republicans. Most Americans support mandating masks in school and vaccinations to return to the workplace, and they oppose states' efforts to ban such moves, according to the latest installment of Axios Ipsos. But the survey finds that the Republican base is going against the grain so disproportionately that it helps to explain the defiant postures of many red state governors. It also showed regional differences, with Midwesterners the most critical of mandates.
Oh, come on, Midwesterners.
Looking at you, Minnesota. Looking at you, Wisconsin, Illinois. What they're saying. This is why we're seeing so much conflict, said Cliff Young, president of the Ipsos. This data shows that public policy and public health is continuously challenged by our politics today, and that at the end of the day, all politics is local. A little bit more here. 64% of respondents support state and local government mandates requiring masks to be worn in public areas. Just 1 in 3 Americans support state laws prohibiting local governments from requiring masks. Talking to you, Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott. But that number masks a big partisan gap. 57% of Republicans support those laws, those that would ban mask mandates, compared to just 16% of Democrats. And there's widespread opposition across party lines to states withholding funds from schools or local governments that require masks, as DeSantis threatened to do. 55% of Americans support companies requiring all employees to be vaccinated to return to the workplace. That's nearly 8 in 10 Democrats, but just 3 in 10 Republicans.
Wow. Between the lines, Crudy, the survey found there aren't nearly as many mandates yet in place as people say they'd be willing to support. Just half the respondents say their employers are requiring masks at work, and 16% said their bosses are requiring all employees to be vaccinated. Just 16% of a vaccine mandate. Respondents were also asked a series of true or false questions, including whether masks have been shown to limit person-to-person spread of COVID-19 and whether the vaccine is more deadly than the virus itself. While most people across party lines knew the facts, Republicans were disproportionately likely to answer incorrectly or say they didn't know. A jarring half of all respondents either said there's no evidence that wearing masks in schools gives children more protection against COVID-19 or said they didn't know. And here's as we wrap up this Axios piece regarding this Ipsos poll, in a new question this week, respondents were asked how much trust they place in conservative news. About 1 in 3 of both vaccinated and unvaccinated Americans said they have a great or fair amount of trust. But among the unvaccinated, conservative news actually holds the highest trust share compared with how the view of network and national papers and cable. Those who have been vaccinated say they have a much higher trust level in newspapers and network television. So conservative, I guess we would have assumed that, right? The unvaccinated, they're down with the conservative news networks.
Shocker.
Biden did speak to the nation on the COVID today. The wrap up, the main line here, the president said that booster shots will be expected to be taken 8 months after your second shot.
Going to be available after September 20th, my understanding, Dom. So more life jackets. I heard it described this way. This is not my original thought, but more life jackets for those that already are wearing a life jacket. But we haven't yet figured out how to vaccinate the kids. Now, obviously, we're waiting on the CDC to give the okay, or I guess the FDA, perhaps.
The FDA. And
but that'll be coming in the short run.
Yes, in the shortest of runs. Yes, next
and
couple of weeks,
even
probably.
Eligible teenagers, only about 25% of those have been vaccinated. So we got a lot of kids that are going to need these vaccine shots. And I would hope there are a lot of protective parents that would say, you know what? I'm going to take Dr. Fauci's word for it, not Greg DeSantis's word for it. I'm going to get my kid vaccinated because I want them to be able to go back to school and stay in that school and perhaps even learn through the school year, Dom. You know, all these Republicans, they're so opposed to closures. Can't close the schools, must go back in person. Well, you know what? It would seem like a really good idea to have the kids in school, if possible. But to do that, you got to encourage the vaccinations of both the staff and the students, and you got to mandate the masks.
Right.
And most kids don't care. I even saw this anti-vaxxer dad, anti-mask dad. Guy's got a big beard. And not that that's pertinent, but, it just was his look. And he said, well, I don't want my kids wearing masks. But actually, my kid likes wearing a mask, thinks he's a ninja. He's been wearing it constantly. I have to tell him, take that mask off. The kid doesn't have an issue.
Kids don't have an issue with generally
wearing the masks. My kids are much better at it. My son, who has special needs, he has been so much better at wearing the mask. He's not cheating. He's not pulling it down over his nose, et cetera.
Well, and come on, Republicans, look at all the folks in the medical field. Right. What they've been wearing masks forever.
You can't trust those deep state doctors.
Yeah, forever. I mean, thankfully we don't have like the medicine that we used to practice, 200 years ago. But nowadays you go in, they're wearing a mask and they can do it all day long. Why can't you do it when you're in the quick trip?
I believe we got Eli from Minneapolis listening on AM 950. Eli, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, quick point, gentlemen, before we're top of the hour. President Biden has just announced in the last hour that all nursing homes will have to require that their staff, all get COVID, all get vaccanations, or they will risk Medicaid funding.
That's a hell of a switch, isn't it, Eli?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for getting it out. Absolutely one hell of a switch. It's going to cut off the majority of your funding if you continue to put Medicare recipients in harm's way.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine guest joining us next. He is John Nichols from the Nation. We know him locally here from the Cap Times. If you're listening on AM 950 like Eli was, well, stick around. Matt McNeil is next, but the rest of you, more Devil's Advocates, the 4 o'clock Wednesday happy hour. It commences right about now.
Shots. Everybody! You shot me. You shot me right in the arm.
I did what I came to do.
The Devil's Advocates are taking the political party back to State Street, to Madison's party destination, Hawks Bar and Grill. Tuesday, August 24th, the Devil's Advocates broadcast live from Hawks 2 to 5 p.m. and then the Summer Lovin' Party really begins. You're going to want to get your share. Inferior radio shows would be exhausted after this many parties, but the Devil's Advocates have trained our whole lives for this. We were built for Summer Lovin'. Come to Hawks Bar and Grill Tuesday, August 24th. Party with the Devil's Advocates and get your Summer Lovin' on.
Extra, read all about it. Hey, what's going on? Oh, didn't you hear? Knuckleheads is moving locations, but not to worry. Knuckleheads will still be on State Street and your best shop for CBD and wellness. And it's going to be at 520 State Street on ground level, which is 100% handicap accessible. Stop by the new digs from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. any day of the week and get 15% off when you mention Devil Radio. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there at our new location, 520 State Street. Extra, extra.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at devilradio927.com.
News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Biden says the country is still in a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
There are people who are dying and who will die who didn't have to. So please, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, do it now.
At the White House, the president says the education department will react to governors who fight mask rules at schools.
If you aren't going to fight COVID-19, at least get out of the way of everyone else who's trying.
The CDC is planning to start offering booster shots to anyone 8 months after their last shot. The Biden administration will require nursing home staff are vaccinated against the coronavirus as a condition to continue receiving federal Medicare and Medicaid funding. The Pentagon says the military cannot push away from Kabul's airport to get more civilians safely evacuated from Afghanistan. Here's the AP's Sagar Magani.
Afghans and civilians say citizens are having a hard time getting through the Taliban and to the airport.
We don't have the capability to go out and collect up large numbers of people.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says the focus is on securing the airport itself. He says the U.S. is doing all it can to get as many people in and then out as possible. Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley is making a pledge.
We fully intend to successfully evacuate all American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan.
And as many Afghan allies as possible.
We're not going to leave them behind.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
In opening statements at his trial in New York, prosecutors say R&B star R. Kelly is a predator who lured girls, boys, and young women with his fame and dominated them physically, sexually, and psychologically. A defense lawyer warned jurors they'll have to sift through lies from accusers with agendas to find the truth. The Caldor fire in Northern California continues to grow after suddenly ravaging Grizzly Falls. Wall Street, the Dow finished down 382 points. This is AP News.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at metamucil.com today.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, leaving the light on for Meemaw and Peepaw and all the other maws and paws visiting the close to 4 million grandbabies born last year who've only seen you on a laptop. For all the bubbies, nanas, and papas ready to finally get your arms around those little loves, Motel 6 offers clean, comfortable rooms at a great low rate. We'll even call you Giga if you want. I'm Tom Bobo Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
I've already guaranteed this will be my last term. I'm doing this because I want to solve these problems.
Was it problem solving when you blocked COVID relief or when you downplayed the insurrection?
I want to do it because I'm so concerned about the direction of this country. I've got something to offer.
Like becoming a hydroxychloroquine salesman?
I'll go home, smile on my face, realizing I'd left it all on the field.
You must be exhausted.
I don't feel like my time here has been particularly successful.
Go home.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Dane by Local is hosting its fundraising event Eat Local, Give Local on August 19th. Dine at any participating restaurant and 10% of your bill will be donated to Dane by Local, which works to support local businesses and keep our local economy strong. Enjoy delicious food and help independently owned businesses in the community at the same time. For more information and to see a complete list of participating restaurants, go to danebylocal.com. That's Dane, B-U-Y local.com. Eat Local, Give Local on August 19th.
So, Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Are all real estate brokers tree huggers?
Crew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yep, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike. And if I have an appointment across town, I use my hybrid.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them online at solidarityrealty.com. There is an alternative.
Welcome to Family Feud on Max Inc. Radio. I'm your host, Rob Roberts. Rocker, we asked 100 Madisonians, what is the favorite part of Max Inc. Radio?
Oh, that's easy, Rob. Live music performed in the Devil's Lair every Saturday night.
The survey says, number 2. So close, Rocker. Jimmy Kane for the win. What is your favorite part of Max Inc. Radio?
Local music.
That's right, Jimmy. Listen to local music every Saturday from 6 p.m. to midnight on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Last night, Governor Tony Evers released a statement that Wisconsin is ready to assist in efforts to help Afghans fleeing their country and seeking refuge in the United States. Governor Evers noted the state government is in contact with federal partners coordinating resettlement efforts, with Fort McCoy being considered as a reception area for Afghan refugees. The governor's statement noted these Afghans assisted in keeping service members from Wisconsin safe in Afghanistan, and it is time for Wisconsin to return the favor. State Senator Andre Jacques, one of Wisconsin's most conservative legislators and staunch opponent of mask mandates, has been hospitalized after testing positive for COVID-19 last week. At last Wednesday's Education Committee public hearing, Senator Jacques testified without wearing a mask in front of a packed hearing room. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the hump day, 4 o'clock, happy hour. And we're joined right now live via phone by a fine guest. He is John Nichols from The Nation. John, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Hey, John.
Hey, it's an honor to be with you two.
Thank you, sir.
John, we were just talking mask mandates and coronavirus. It's been like a year and a half we've been having this conversation. Wanted to get your reaction. It seems like karma's kind of coming home to roost, be it Bishop Burke or be it Andre Jacques. A couple of prominent Wisconsinites now have the COVID-19 and have been hospitalized. John, how should we react to that, other than thoughts and prayers, of course?
Well, you should. I mean, we should be very sympathetic to anybody that comes down with this, because this is a serious ailment and it could do you in. I mean, it's bad stuff, and we should all be conscious of that threat. And it's not just some prominent folks on different political edges or whatever. There are a lot of people getting sick. I'm hearing more people that I know coming down with this variant than at some of the peak times last year. So we should be very, very concerned. We should definitely wish everybody who's sick that they improve quickly, that they get better, that they make it through. And then we should be conscious of the moment that we're living in. And if we are conscious of the moment that we are living in, it is one where there is simply no question that it is irresponsible. It is irresponsible to go without a mask in a tight setting, any kind of situation like that. It is irresponsible not to report if you get ill. It is irresponsible to be out there advocating against mask mandates, against social distancing, and frankly, against vaccinations. This is a time when we ought to get serious about this. In fact, I think it's as serious a time as in some of the peak moments last year. It's just that we haven't quite fully wrapped our head around it. But we're going to have to do so pretty quickly if we're going to avoid having another fall and winter like the fall and winter of 2020 into 2021.
Well, John, I was certainly far more empathetic at that time. I mean, there was no vaccine a year ago. Now there is. There is effectively a magic bullet. And, I guess it's a terrible analogy, John, but, when I hear about the drunk driver that went out and crashed his car and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and, while I hate to see the tragedy, but I think to myself, well, you kind of did that to yourself. Now, John, I know this makes me a terrible human being, but they're the party of personal responsibility. Do we have to feel empathetic or sympathetic for those that refuse to do the right thing? Maybe advocate against it. Hell, they're researchers. They've been on YouTube, John. Don't they deserve what they get?
Nope, they don't. Sorry. I know you want to, I understand that you want to point of finger blame here, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, and I hate to be the responsible person here, mind you, but
on this panel, you'd have to be the responsible person,
yeah,
John.
I know. I hate to play that role, but I got to tell you, this is serious stuff. And so, I guess my vision of it's a little bit different than the scenario you're playing out there. My vision is, and I always have believed this as a believer in Christian faith, that when you come to the altar, if you sinner that you may be, we accept you, right? And so for those folks who have resisted a proper approach as regards this ailment, they're getting a pretty good signal that it's time to change course, to get serious about this, to stop playing politics with it, and to start recognizing that we're in a life and death situation. And one of the things about Senator Jock there, who's ailing now, and again, who I hope gets better. He was in a hearing room with people, some of whom are in vulnerable situations.
Yeah.
And so he may get better, right? But somebody that he might have gotten sick could really go through something horrible, even die. And so what I want to do now, and I don't want to be all preachy about this, but what I want to do now is kind of open the door and say, hey, come on. But now's the time to get straight on this stuff. Because if you don't recognize the threat that is coming at us, then, you're going to be as guilty as a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice.
John,
and remember, our Supreme Court, our state Supreme Court, is made up of some of the guiltiest players as regards what we're going through right now that you will find. They're the ones who have blocked these mandates and who have, made officials afraid or uncertain about doing the things that they have to do. And so if we want to get mad at somebody, it's the conservative majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They are the most irresponsible and the most dangerous players in our state at this point.
I'm not clear if I wouldn't throw Chris Kapinga and maybe Steve Nass in that group. And hell, looking down to the South, we've got governors like Abbott and DeSantis.
No,
well,
yeah,
John,
DeSantis is a horrible player. I will. Let's be very clear. DeSantis is maybe in the whole country the worst of the bunch, and I'll tell you why. He's running for president on this stuff. He's literally, sacrificing his state in order to position himself as a presidential candidate. And that I would dare say that is uglier than what you would expect from Donald Trump.
No, you probably make a point, John. When Scott Walker was sacrificing his state so he could run for president, it was only high-speed rail and, jobs and a casino and, money for the Buck Stadium. It was just poor financial fiduciary sort of decisions on behalf of the constituents. I guess he didn't willingly and directly cost any lives, at least not as far as my memory.
A
little sketchy, John.
Let me pause you here a little bit. As much as I'd love to defend Scott Walker, I do believe he was a little resistant to that Medicare money.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That's our pal, John Nichols, national affairs correspondent with The Nation, joining us. John, always a pleasure to talk with you. Real quick, I guess, on the topic of the COVID, I guess what gets me, and I get it, Crudy is kind of a terrible human being, and I'm not a fan of the bad karma. But what really gets me, I think, more than anything is the fact that people like Andre Jacques and Cardinal Burke and Governor Greg Abbott, they have a platform, they have influence. Yeah. They could impact greatly this issue, and instead they're not, and now they're paying the price for their own actions. But as you mentioned, certainly also being reported, Jacques has a baby around, so other people can get hurt, and other people in those committee hearings, John, as you mentioned. I'm hoping they change their stance. I hope it doesn't take a death of one of theirs to make them do that. But one other person also who had a platform on this, John, was Wisconsin State Senator Ron Johnson. And he used his GAC committee to talk about hydroxychloroquine, and he apparently did some really good constituent services, as ProPublica reported this week. John, what's your take on the senator from Wisconsin?
Well, Ron Johnson's an indefensible human being. I mean, it's just, I mean, if he was just a conspiracy theorist, that would be bad, right? I mean, because the conspiracy theories are dangerous, and he has peddled some incredibly dangerous ones. But as ProPublica has now confirmed, he's a grifter, right? He's a guy who got himself into a position of power, and now he's taking care of himself and his friends, not in the small, usual, kind of like respectable corruption kind of model of, taking a bribe or something like that. He's rewriting tax laws and holding up legislation in order to create protections for himself and for his friends. And as ProPublica reveals, he has taken, in this case, potentially as much as $500 million. I'm going to repeat that figure: $500 million out of the Treasury and given it to his wealthy friends, right, via tax breaks. And that's just about as immoral as you can get.
Well, so John, but what do we do about it? I mean, I'm with you. I think it's a terrible look, and he hasn't decided whether or not he's going to run. But I mean, is the only?
I hope he runs. I hope he runs so that responsible people can vote against him. You know what I mean? It's just he doesn't deserve the easy exit of retirement, right? He should put his name on the ballot after everything he's done. And frankly, I would, I know it's fantasy, but I would hope he'd get beaten in a Republican primary by somebody better than him. But unfortunately, the Republican Party tends to look for people worse than Ron Johnson. So at this point,
well, speaking of worse, John, speaking of slightly worse than Ron Johnson, I heard it predicted, perhaps reliably, perhaps not, recently, that if Ron Johnson doesn't run, Scott Walker's gonna. Want to get your opinion on the Wankinator senatorial campaign?
Absolutely, Scott Walker for Senate. I'm on board for that. Please. I'm willing. I'm going to rewrite my scenario here. I'm willing to accept a Ron Johnson step down if Scott Walker will run for that Senate seat.
Well,
because I would love to see him carry the burden of Donald Trump and his own governorship into an election.
Yes,
John Nichols.
Up for that.
John, can you stick around a few more minutes? We'd love to keep you for one more segment.
I would, we've only begun.
Oh, the summer of lovin's only begun. We got the finest of guests. He's John Nichols. We are the Devil's Advocates. Come back with us. I know you will.
I don't feel like my time here has been particularly successful.
As do Trump supporters.
Having a great time.
The Devil's Advocates are taking the political party back to State Street, to Madison's party destination, Hawks Bar and Grill. Tuesday, August 24th, the Devil's Advocates broadcast live from Hawks 2 to 5 p.m. And then the Summer Lovin' Party really begins. And you're going to want to get your share. Inferior radio shows would be exhausted after this many parties. But the Devil's Advocates have prayed our whole lives for this. We were built for Summer Lovin'. Come to Hawks Bar and Grill Tuesday, August 24th. Party with the Devil's Advocates and get your Summer Lovin' on.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I'm the owner of Devil Radio. I'm asking for your support now. Wisconsin has 81 conservative radio stations blanketing the entire state with conspiracies of stolen elections, anti-vaxxer messaging, and it's all fueled by dark money. The left's best and only on-air voices in our state cannot be funded entirely by pizza parlors. The battle for the soul of Wisconsin is ongoing. Go to devilradio927.com and click the Support Devil Radio tab. Give now if you can. Thank you.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Make sure you download the super cool Devil Radio app. Go to your Google or Apple App Store and look for Devil Radio.
Dominic, we got the finest guest. He is John Nichols from The Nation, the Cap Times locally. He's a friend of ours, most importantly. And John, we appreciate you sticking around. I want to get a quick question in about the senatorial field. All the Democrats that want to oppose Ron Johnson, or maybe the wanker, but they would sure like to serve in the U.S. Senate. John, we just had Stephen Olacara on our show yesterday. We had Dr. Bettino recently, and we've tried to get as many of them as they've made their announcements as we can. But John, want to get your impression, other than the fact that we got a couple of very wealthy Democrats running for the U.S. Senate. What have your impressions been of the field?
I think it's a strong field, actually, and it's early in the game. To my sense right now, I mean, I'd love to see a good poll, right? There was a little poll out of Milwaukee County, but it was incredibly narrow, and I think basically just measured some name recognition. I was sorry that the Marquette poll, when they came out with their latest survey a week or so ago, didn't have a Senate measure in it. My sense is that Mandela Barnes, Lieutenant Governor, who got in relatively recently, has started very strong. He waited to enter the race, but when he did enter, he entered with a lot of attention and, frankly, a lot of significant endorsements from around the state. So I think that he is doing quite well at this point. I think it might be fair to say he's the front runner. I do think you have tiers in this race. A group of people who are reasonably well known or who are clearly going to be able to self-finance to some extent. And so that would create a tier with Mandela Barnes, unquestionably, State Treasurer Sarah Godlewski, and of course, Alex Lasry of the Bucks fame. And I think they form a tier. I think Thomas Nelson, from up and out of Gamey County, is running a very, very energetic race and working really hard. I mean, I'm struck by the amount of energy he's put into it, and I think that has had some impact for him too. And he's in serious contention. I think there's a number of other people who've entered in who, frankly, are going to have to do a lot of work to get themselves, into competition with that other tier. I'm struck by, last thing I'll say on all this, is that Alacara's entry is interesting because he started with some significant endorsements, and that counts for something in Wisconsin politics. I think especially for him having the endorsement of Barbara Lawton, the former lieutenant governor, who has a lot of respect with the party base, is a big deal. So, he's got something to recommend there. But at this point, with all of that said, I think this is still a reasonably open race that certainly anybody in the upper tier could win, and potentially, if they get traction, somebody who's kind of not in that upper tier could move up.
John, what are the Republican wannabe governors waiting for? How about Rebecca Clayfish? What about Bill McCoshen? When are they going to get in the race and give Tony someone to run against?
Yeah, I mean, and where is Reince Priebus, man? You know, I mean, I want Reince Priebus to run.
Oh, we all want Reince Priebus to run.
First off, the name alone is a winner, right? And he's got a stellar record of electoral victories. Well, or coming relatively close to Bob Wirtz down in Kenosha. But I would like Priebus to get in there, and I would hope he'd be the first across the line. I'd like him to explain what it was like when Trump left him on the tarmac at the airport after he was fired. But I think that what in reality is happening is that Ron Johnson, who screws up everything, right? I mean, let's just be clear. The only thing that Ron Johnson ever gets right is a tax break for one of his friends. Ron Johnson is sort of messing up the lieutenant or the governor's race because I think they're all waiting to see whether Johnson announces. If Johnson announces, right, then all the energy goes into the governor's race. And nobody's going to challenge Johnson in that primary except for, somebody cool. And they're a little short on cool people. So the energy is going to head to the governor's race. And of course, this all brings us back to Mike Gallagher, right? Mike Gallagher, the congressman from northeastern Wisconsin, he's got a pretty good template as a Republican candidate. He's not a real full Trumper, but he's got a lot of things that might recommend him. If Johnson quits, then Gallagher and Kevin Nicholson jump into that Senate race right away and have a bloody primary about who's the most Trump. But if Johnson runs, then Gallagher, it becomes interesting because there's that possibility that Gallagher runs for governor, maybe even Kevin Nicholson, who's got a lot of money behind him, runs for governor. And I think everybody's kind of waiting to see that play out. And so you ask, when are they going to get in? I think the person to ask is your old buddy, Ron Johnson.
John Nichols, national affairs correspondent with The Nation. We're going to have about 90 seconds on this one. I want to get your take on President Biden's approach and performance with regards to Afghanistan.
He did the right thing. It's time to withdraw. Did he plan it as well as he should have? Nope. He extended the exit time beyond what Trump had proposed. So Trump is the guy who actually did the withdrawal plan. Biden extended that, but I don't think they made it effective use of the time that they had. Now, Biden's responsibility is to make sure that the Americans who are there get out, the people who help the Americans get out, and to make sure that there's a good and honest welcome for the refugees coming out of Afghanistan. At the bottom line, I'm glad that Biden made the choice that he did to see through the withdrawal. Now he has a responsibility to make sure that the exit is done in the best possible way.
Well, John Nichols from The Nation, from the Cap Times, I'm going to try and make your exit as clean and as generous as possible. We always appreciate you coming around, John. Thank you so much.
I appreciate being with you. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Always is, John. Appreciate it, man.
Come back. More Devil's Advocates. We can talk to you next if you dial the phone at 844-967-2789.
Animator number 9.
Hey, you want to get high, man?
I so love this country.
That could be. It might be. It is Devil Radio 92.7.
Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I'm the owner of Devil Radio. I'm asking for your support now. Wisconsin has 81 conservative radio stations, blanketing the entire state with conspiracies of stolen elections, anti-vaxxer messaging, and it's all fueled by dark money. The left's best and only on-air voices in our state cannot be funded entirely by pizza parlors. The battle for the soul of Wisconsin is ongoing. Go to devilradio927.com and click the Support Devil Radio tab. Give now if you can. Thank you. Hey, Dom, is your carpeting starting to have a little bit of a funk to it?
That's a bit of a personal question, Crudy.
No, I know this is really busy time for one of our sponsors, Zero Res of Madison. People want a cleaner, healthier home.
You mean spending the entire quarantine locked in with bacteria and allergens isn't healthy? Who knew?
You want to get it professionally cleaned well before it gets funky. Even if you vacuum frequently,
I vacuum a lot.
You still need to get it professionally cleaned. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate.
An airlift. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. General Mark Milley, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says the goal in Afghanistan is simple: get all the American citizens out.
We are the United States military, and we fully intend to successfully evacuate all American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan. All American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan. They are our priority number one.
As for the Afghan citizens who aided the U.S.,
we intend to evacuate those who've been supporting us for years, and we're not going to leave them behind. And we will get out as many as possible.
After first saying hackers gained unauthorized access to some T-Mobile data, the company confirms names, social security numbers, and other ID information on just over 40 million people who applied for T-Mobile credit were exposed. Same information on nearly 8 million monthly service customers also snatched. Plus, more than 800,000 active prepaid customer names, phone numbers, and account PINs were hacked. I'm Tim McGuire.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at metamucil.com today.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, leaving the light on for Meemaw and Peepaw and all the other maws and paws visiting the close to 4 million grandbabies born last year who've only seen you on a laptop. For all the bubbies, nanas, and papas ready to finally get your arms around those little loves, Motel 6 offers clean, comfortable rooms at a great low rate. We'll even call you Giga if you want. I'm Tom Bobo Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Tuesday evening, the Wisconsin Department of Justice and Attorney General Josh Kaul announced legal action to remove Walker appointee Fred Friend from the Wisconsin Natural Resources Board, whose term ended on May 1st, but has refused to step down. Friend has remained in the position, citing a previous ruling that he can remain in the post until the legislature confirms his replacement. Republicans in the state Senate have yet to confirm Governor Evers' appointee to replace Friend. AG Kaul and the Department of Justice are asking the Dane County Circuit Court to rule that Friend's term is over. Partly cloudy skies to begin the day today with light and variable winds and a high of 83 degrees. Mostly clear skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 65 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door. Ready to make
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the 4 o'clock Wednesday happy hour. It rolls on. Don, I want to thank our most recent guest, John Nichols from The Nation. We love when John comes around. The audience.
Thanks, John. Good cat.
They love when John comes around. You know, you're still listening right now. And yesterday on the big show, we had Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. And part of the reason I invited Parisi on, there is a mask mandate that's going into effect in Dane County Thursday at midnight. Unless Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty is successful in their lawsuit, because they dropped a lawsuit, according to Wisconsin State Journal, Mitchell Schmidt reporting.
What?
Conservative legal group asked state Supreme Court to strike down Dane County's mask mandate. You know, at the time, remember when they first asked the Supreme Court to strike down the governor's mandates, the safer at home and that kind of stuff? Why did they tell us? Because local communities had a better sense of what should be done. And earlier in the show, Don, we talked about Paul Waldman, the plumb line at the Washington Post, and the probability that, under normalized electoral cycles, the Republicans would win back the House of Representatives and terrible things could happen. But Waldman asserts this battle between state and local control, Republicans so full of hubris, so enthralled with overturning tyrannical mask mandates, that they could actually be the ones that inspired the voters to come out in the midterms. Well, Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, they're back in the headlines. I'm going to read briefly, Dom. A nonprofit conservative law firm has asked the Wisconsin Supreme Court to strike down a new order issued by Public Health Madison and Dane County that requires the use of face masks in public indoor settings starting Thursday. The Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty on Wednesday filed an original action on behalf of Sun Prairie resident Bryant Stemsky. You're a real Stemsky, Bryant. Claiming that the court in June ruled that the powers of local health officials are limited and such an order must be approved by the legislature. Yeah, Republicans should have say in local control in the city of Madison. According to Will, the action requests that the court declare the relevant county and city ordinances unconstitutional. This pisses me off. The courts have made clear that unelected public health officers do not have unlimited authority, Will Deputy Counsel Dan Linnington said in a statement. Dane County health officer, simply put, does not have the power to order universal masking or anything else without express legal authority, which the Republicans, of course, will withhold them a little bit more. Under Dane County's order, which takes effect at 12:01 a.m. Thursday, everyone aged 2 and older in the county must wear a face covering or mask when in any enclosed space open to the public where other people except for members of the person's own household or living unit could be present. Public Health Madison and Dane County spokeswoman Sarah Matisse said in an email, the department is confident the county-wide mask mandate is legal. Additional comments on pending litigation were not available Wednesday, and the county health department also strongly recommended wearing a face covering at private gatherings or crowded outdoor settings, and businesses subject to the order will once again have to post signs notifying customers and staff of the face covering requirement, which will be in effect until September 16th. There's more there, but that's the important.
Let me just a couple of paragraphs at the end to put it a little bit of context here. The Wisconsin Supreme Court last May struck down the state's stay-at-home order, which was implemented by Governor Tony Evers to limit capacity and services at many businesses and require others to remain closed to in-person customers. The court dealt Evers another defeat this April when it struck down the Democratic governor's COVID-19 emergency order and accompanying statewide mask mandate. While the court barred Evers from issuing another statewide mask requirement, the ruling allowed local governments, such as cities and counties, dare I say Dane County, to impose their own virus restrictions.
Well, that was the last ruling. Now we're seeking a subsequent ruling because mask mandates are tyrannical, according to conservatives. You wanted to talk about the Bishop Burke. Apparently there's an update in his status.
Yes.
And it's not a good update. He's got the coronavirus, despite the fact, he's been something of a coronavirus hoaxer, anti-vaxxer, anti-masker. What's the update,
Apparently Burke is alive but in serious condition and has been sedated. He's been one of Pope Francis's loudest critics and a vaccine skeptic. He tweeted on August 10th that he caught the coronavirus. His staff tweeted Saturday that he was hospitalized and on a ventilator. His condition and whereabouts have since then been unclear. His staff has provided no official updates. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops referred questions to officials at the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which Burke founded in La Crosse. On Tuesday, the shrine issued a statement saying Burke is in serious but stable condition at an undisclosed location. He has been sedated and is still using a ventilator to breathe. He has received sacraments from priests nearby, and several relics have been placed in his room. The statement did not elaborate. The statement said no one should try to call Burke's family, shrine staff, or Burke's residents in Rome to discuss his condition, saying such communications can become a burden. The statement said the shrine alone will release updates, and then only if Burke's status changes significantly. The statement goes on to say, in humility, we understand that it is not necessary for us to know every detail of the cardinal's treatment. Though his family realizes that the cardinal belongs to the church, they also ask that we respect his privacy. The period of hospitalization and for now isolation because of the COVID virus may be prolonged as his eminence's body fights the infection and recovers strength. For the time being, the sedation assists his own peace and rest. Apparently, he has a doctorate in canon law. He served as a bishop of the Diocese of La Crosse before becoming Archbishop in St. Louis. I'm having a hell of a time today, man.
Me too.
He left St. Louis in 2008 to oversee the Vatican's Supreme Court, becoming the first American to hold that position. He built a reputation as an outspoken conservative. He drew attention in 2004 when he said he wouldn't give Holy Communion to Democratic presidential nominee John Kerry because Kerry supports abortion rights. In 2009, he chastised the University of Notre Dame, over plans to give then President Barack Obama an honorary degree because Obama also supports abortion rights. Real quick at the end here, Burke also warned that governments, and here's the final paragraph in the story from the Milwaukee Journal. Burke also has warned people that governments were using fear of the pandemic to manipulate people. He spoke out against mandatory vaccinations in May of 2020, saying some in society want to implant microchips in people. He has said, this is Cardinal Burke, who's in sedation, in serious but stable condition, and on a ventilator as we speak. He said the best weapon for fighting the virus is Jesus Christ. Then why you on a ventilator? And why are you sedated? And why are you in a hospital and not in the Our Lady of Guadalupe praying your ass off to your idol, Jesus Christ?
You know, his eminence has a little bit of a political record, does he not? I mean, he's such a partisan. Every one of his actions, you know, the withholding of communion. Why is it only Democratic presidents aren't worthy of communion? But Donald Trump is. I mean, he's led a Christian lifestyle on his, third baby mama, third marriage, 5 kids, several mistresses and assorted porn stars who have signed NDAs to him.
Thou shalt not lie. That's one, right?
He's all good. The Trumpster. But Joe Biden is not worthy of the communion wafer.
The practicing Catholic. I know, man. Of course. I mean, of course.
Well, again, I'm finding myself more and more these days. I'm struggling with human empathy for people like the bishop.
Yes, and it's a terrible thing to have to struggle with. And I'm with you. I mean, I'd like to consider myself a nice guy. I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Slow down. No one ever called you a nice guy.
Right.
But you do have humanity. I mean, you're a nice
empathy,
guy.
And I recognize it. And is the activity of a lifetime of what Burke has done and said. I know, some of the faithful are going to say, well, he's the eminence and he does the Supreme Court in Rome. And I'm going to say, so what? Today's religion is tomorrow's mythology. That means absolutely zero to me. What does he do? What does he say? How does he lead? And we've seen what he's done. He's, as Crudy mentioned, he's very political in these regards. And ultimately, I would challenge that he's not faithful. He's not a believer in God or in Jesus Christ, because he has said the best weapon for fighting the virus is Jesus Christ. And yet he relies on modern medicine to save him. As right now, he'd be dead if not for modern medicine. Jesus Christ isn't keeping him alive. It's modern medicine. It is science. It is science, the same science that he refutes, the same science that he mocks as putting microchips into people. And this is the same with Andre Jacques and Abbott and all these other people of power and position and influence to have a platform that could actually move the needle on this issue. And they fail to do so for purely political reasons.
Greg Abbott in the state of Texas, he's the governor there. He has forbidden mask mandates through executive order. He has once twice, thrice vaccinated, and he's got asymptomatic COVID-19, probably the Delta variant, but I don't know that for sure. And he's already had the monoclonal cocktail.
Yeah.
So what do you have to fear? I mean, seriously, you're 3 times vaccinated, which the rest of us are going to have to wait in line starting September 20th. And you've had the cocktail and you're asymptomatic. It's almost like you're afraid of this Delta variant, this coronavirus, in your own personal care. You know, care for me, but not for thee. Because this is the very same governor of the state of Texas that would ban mask mandates. Well, how did you catch it? You know what I mean? How'd you catch it? Well, Greg Abbott was at a massive unmasked indoor event just the other day. And what do you know? He's got the COVID. Shocker. Fancy.
Oh, fun fact, that remdesivir that he took, that's a couple more bucks in the coffer of Rand Paul. Good for him.
Well, Rand Paul's wife apparently bought some stock in that corporation, and then, they failed to make disclosure for 16 months. But, Rand Paul's wife's stock purchases, Dom, not nearly as influential as, let's say, $5.5 million worth of campaign contributions to Ron DeSantis from the very same corporate owner.
Amen, brother. 844-967-2789. LA Tom, you are up. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hey, guys. First off, we the people are the government, and we must never forget that. Second is the Purple Foxcons are horrible for business. And the Republicans are the pro-death party. This cardinal, you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. This cardinal, first off, he probably committed one of the biggest sins that there is if he wants to read any type of Bible by Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ said, take care of my flock. You are the shepherd. These are the lambs. And this guy, not only did he break rules of, honesty. I mean, it's just like this guy has led these people that are in the church like a lamb to the slaughterhouse. And that's what these people are. They're basically sheep. They follow what these leaders say, and these religious leaders are, if there's a special place in hell for any of these pastors or any of these people that are, not looking after their flock.
Well, of course, Tom, to believe that, you'd have to believe there is a place called hell. And Dom doesn't believe that.
Sometimes it's on the radio with you, Crudy.
Come back. More devil's advocates talk. I was going to say something else, but I'll give you the backhand on the other side.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
My name's Fred. I'm just a man, same as you are.
You're not a man, you're a bishop, for God's sakes.
There is no God.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I'm the owner of Devil Radio. I'm asking for your support now. Wisconsin has 81 conservative radio stations blanketing the entire state with conspiracies of stolen elections, anti-vaxxer messaging, and it's all fueled by dark money. The left's best and only on-air voices in our state cannot be funded entirely by pizza parlors. The battle for the soul of Wisconsin is ongoing. Go to devilradio927.com and click the Support Devil Radio tab. Give now if you can. Thank you.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral-forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
We are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up 844-967-2789.
We're talking about instant karma for thee and not for me, right? Woo. Dominic, do you see the Republican appointee, the Walker appointee that heads up the DNR board? The job's been done. His appointment's been done since May 1st, but he claims, this Fred Preen, this board chairman claims, well, he doesn't have to leave until the Senate, the Republican-run Senate. Well, they've got to confirm his replacement, of course. And since the Republican-run Senate's refusing to replace him on the board, the Attorney General of the great state of Wisconsin, Josh Kaul, has filed a lawsuit trying to take him off the board. Real quick, Dom, here is his reaction. The chair of the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Policy Board said Wednesday that a lawsuit seeking to remove him from the panel is politically motivated and that he has the right to continue serving even as the Senate Republicans have stalled confirmation of his replacement. So I get the job as long as those guys refuse to do their job. A little bit more. Fred Preen said in a telephone interview with the Associated Press that Democratic Governor Tony Evers sees him as a roadblock to its wildlife and environmental agenda. Yeah, you are. Right. He said he won't give up his seat until the state Senate confirms his replacement. He pointed to a May 25th analysis by the Legislative Reference Bureau that concluded the state Supreme Court ruled in 64 that holdover appointees can continue to serve until their replacement when Senate confirmation. I still believe I'm the duly nominated member of the board. You read that memo and I think you'll go, wow, it's so on point and with what we're doing. So in other words, it agrees with you. So you like it quite a bit. Former Gubernator Scotty Wanker appointed Preen to the board in 2015. His term expired May 1st. Evers appointed Sandra Nass to replace him, a move that would give his appointees majority control of the board. But Preen has refused to step down, insisting he can remain in place until the Senate confirms Nass. The Republican-controlled body is yet to schedule a hearing on Nass's appointment. You remember Brad Poff or whatever his name is from the La Crosse area? He's now a state senator, but he was Tony Evers' agricultural secretary.
Oh, right.
And he never got his confirmation vote.
Yeah.
Ever. Tony never even got his full cabinet. There are still Tony Evers cabinet members that do not have a confirmation vote. One went on to lead the coronavirus. Andrea Palm, she's leading up the Biden administration's coronavirus response. Good enough for the federal government, but not good enough for Senate Republicans here in the state of Wisconsin. Because we're the political ones, Tom.
Right.
A host of environmental groups concerned that conservatives are illegally maintaining control of the board, allowing them to shape outdoor and pollution policy, asked Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul last month to file a lawsuit demanding a judge force Preen out. Kaul filed the action in Dane County Circuit Court on Tuesday, seeking a court order removing Preen from the board, arguing the governor can remove gubernatorial appointees at any time. Preen said he was shocked that Kaul is suing him in light of the Legislative Reference Bureau's analysis. The fact that the State Department of Justice won't wait for the traditional confirmation process, which will never come,
Right.
just shows how political this is. What's the emergency here, Josh? They don't like what this board's doing, so the answer is get rid of me. I will definitely defend myself in the lawsuit.
Well, the Wisconsin voters brought in Tony Evers, and Tony Evers gets to pick his crew. And maybe Tony Evers doesn't like what you folks were doing on your committee, and he has every right to replace you. And you guys sandbagging it and then politically sandbagging it and then calling other people on their acts as being political. Gaslight much? 844-967-2789. His name was invoked during the commercial break. Pizza Box Mike, you are up. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hey, Pizza.
I'm finally really happy that Attorney General Call got up and gave a wolf howl. Oh. That's what this is about. It's not political. This is about nature, D-bag. That guy should get D-bag every day because, you know what? Elections have consequences.
Right.
And the first politician to say this is political has to step down because that's what you are. It's so sickening. Took me off my track. But anyway, I'm actually one of those vaccinated that might turn into anti-vax because, you know, the Republicans are passing bills or trying to anyway, writing bills that if you have a job and you refuse to get vaccinated and you lose your job, you get unemployment? Do they skip the first week like you do to work? People? Yeah, skip the first week like I bet they don't lose a week, right? They get it right away because it's all political. What a bunch of clowns, man.
They are. I hope I hope it's not just our audience, Mike. I know you're a smart guy. I know our audience, they're paying attention to politics because we demand that they do to play along. But I wonder if the broader electorate is reading beyond the headlines, realizes just how bad these Republicans are. Because any ends justifies any means for these guys. Oh, well, we won't confirm the new DNR appointee. So Walker's appointee continues to run the board forever.
A Republican appointee on the DNR board under a Democratic administration who obviously has different ideas what the DNR board should do and won the most recent election.
And it would also change up the makeup of the board because if Preen is replaced, then it's no longer a conservative 4-3 board, kind of like the U.S. Supreme Court seat. What was his name? Merrick Garland, the guy that never got his confirmation hearings.
Right. Great
Seems
analogy.
very, very similar.
Yes.
844-967-2789. Dale from Madison, you're next. Welcome.
Hey, Dale.
Hey there. I was going to make a comment, but I shifted because of what you guys are talking about. Trump appointed over 160 judges that are going to be there a long time. The Republicans and the conservatives with their 80 plus stations in Wisconsin pump people up. They get emotions going. And so people turn out for those judicial races in Wisconsin and they elect judges. You guys are fighting a good fight, fighting a war to try and get people out there to vote. People on the left and Democrats don't seem to realize emotion motivates. You know, intellectual conversation is great for a coffee table, but it doesn't get people to do actions. You need some emotion, you need some fire to get people out there to turn out. And that's what the Republicans are doing. And that's why they turn out in those small elections. And because the Republicans are losing the demographic war, they're just trying to win in the courts.
No, Dale, you make excellent points.
Yeah, good point, man.
Right-wing talk radio, they turn out the vote. We try to do the same here. Want to thank our fine guest. He was John Nichols from The Nation. Don't forget tomorrow, we got Bill Press in the 3:00 hour on Friday, James Santel. Now stick around. Our pal Earl Ingram is next. The Native Roots Radio. Thank you for keeping it locked on Devil Radio 92.7. And that's why Dom's so hyperbolic. Firing up the bass.
Sign on with the devil. I'm Satan reincarnated.
The devil! This is Crudy, and I recommend calling Dave and the team at Community PC to